Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the 2021 Podium 500 preliminary race, live tonight from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside two new friends that you'll see a little bit more of over the course of this weekend. We've got from his own Twitch channel, Mr. RHD, Keita Kusin, and Rents Defense himself, Rents Brown, here to help welcome in this brand new piece, all new for 2021, part of Podium 500 weekend. But still, Rents, Podium 500 weekend is back. If everybody out there in the crowd is as excited as you and I are, I think we're going to be in for a good few days.
Listen, man, I got like this Christmas themed jacket going on. You know, it's Christmas in February. That's the way I look at it. Racing is back, James. It's the world center of racing. It's Daytona, the Podium 500. We've all been waiting for this endurance type racing format to come back. It's time to see who can claim the spot as being the winner of the 2021 Podium 500, and it starts tonight.
This begins an odyssey that will transpire over the next 4 days. We start tonight with 359 total drivers registered. That is a brand new all-time record for an independent iRacing event, beating out the Firecracker 400 that was held last summer. By the end of the weekend, we are down to one driver that will add their name alongside Seth the Merchants and Daniel Everhart as a Podium 500 champion. Now, this new piece on Thursday night, we've never done anything like this before, but this race is specifically for drivers who have registered that entered tonight, or rather enter registration with either a oval license below Class C or an iRating below 1500. So, Keenan, it's 100 laps. It's a chance for these drivers to be on a broadcast, but it's also a chance for these drivers to get their feet wet with plate racing and with the sort of 500 mental sort of psyche.
Yeah, James, it could be the start of a long weekend for some of these guys. You know, this is the first step that they're going to have to make it into the time trials tomorrow, which of course is going to lead into the heat races, which will lead into the big show on Sunday. So for a lot of these guys, it could be their one and done. You know, they could be their chance to shine under the on the broadcast. But for a lot of these guys, again, this is the start of a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that hopefully might skyrocket them in the iRacing zeitgeist. Might bring them right forward and give them a little bit more camera time than just coming around tonight as we're in the middle of qualifying here. But yeah, no, really excited to be here. Again, thanks for Podium for having me out here. This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but we're gonna get there. And yeah, much like Ren said, long wait, long time coming, but really excited to be back here behind the booth and behind the microphone of the Podium 500.
We'll go ahead and introduce to you this concept as we take a look at Google Earth for the first time. Our friends at Mountain View, California, providing us with the visual images which show you where Daytona International Speedway is. If you don't know, right off of Interstate 95 as you make your way south towards Miami or north towards Jacksonville. But this is a palace of speed built in 1959 and one of the most famous racetracks in all the world. Now, big number that you will want to keep track of throughout the course of the weekend, especially tonight and on Saturday, is 8. Because tonight, it is the top 8 finishers in this race that will advance into the time trials with everybody else that is registered. We will then open up servers throughout the evening tomorrow. Everybody will go in for 5 minutes, lay down their lap times. We will collate all of them, snake them, and set the grids for the 8 heats that will begin qualifying today and take the top 2 drivers and move them into the 500 already, because the fastest qualifiers tomorrow night are going to lock themselves immediately in to Sunday, as we thank everybody for the hype train that we've got already within the first 5 minutes, which I think Brent says everything about how excited the community is.
You know what? This community's been waiting for Daytona. We just came off the 24 hours of Daytona. I know, Keenan, you were part of that. So we gotten through the road course. We've gone through 24 hours of change. Now we're going to get through 4 days of change. This is where it's going to get a little bit interesting. As we've already alluded to, these are the guys that are trying to make it into the following next 3 days. So it's going to be about car placement. It's going to be about drafting. It's going to be about understanding, James, where you need to place that car at the right time. The bottom lane, in my opinion, is the best way to protect your position, but watch that second groove, not against the wall, but that second groove. That's where you're going to start seeing some moves. That's the passing lane, as I call it. So it's going to be very interesting. Many races have been won and lost by track position. So it's going to be kind of the beginning of the race. I can kind of maybe feel a little bit calm, but towards the end, that's when things are going to ramp up. And that's why everyone is so hyped up, because it's not the beginning of the race, it's the end that we're all so excited for.
And that outside line, I think in particular, you've got a really good point there, Rents. We saw it to great effect. Malik Ray went up to the top to get the victory in the Pro Series here back in November. We've seen so many drivers make that work throughout former Speed Weeks, former NIS 500s, and former Podium 500s as well. I think tonight will be no different as we give some of the maybe lesser-known drivers of the community, some of the newer drivers of the community, an opportunity to showcase their stuff for 100 laps. It's time to take a look at the starting grid and show you where your favorite driver in tonight's race is beginning. Robert Duvendak takes the pole with a 47.924. That's a sporty, fast qualifying time that would put you pretty well in tomorrow night's time trials as well, but you got to get there first. Anthony Poston, Jake Bowman, Jordan Brockle, Aaron Valley, brand new to iRacing in the past few months, and he'll start within the first 3 rows. Pretty good qualifying effort for him, Rents.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be one of those things where qualifying is really just going to be about putting yourself in the right position, putting yourself in the right spot. And Justin T. Miller, Kelly Everett, Rob Connors, Rodney Cobb, you know, as we keep going through this list here, Keenan, it's just going to be about putting yourself in the right position, not so much qualifying. It's about where you're going to put yourself throughout this race.
Yeah, speaking about the right position, the guys in this back 12 maybe playing a little bit of smart game here. Names like Mark Vyers, Joe Ogle, Tyler Grinnell, Kyle M. Payne in the 18 car, number 1, Jason Semaral. Maybe those guys opting not, like a lot of the back end of the field opting not to qualify. Maybe just trying to play it smart, trying to stay at the back and just stay out of those early wrecks and be there at the end. But, you know, a lot of times it really is hard to get moving here at Daytona on a short notice. So we'll be able to see if that strategy plays in, as we do indeed have about 5 drivers, it looks like, that opted not to qualify.
It's an interesting point that you make, Keenan, just because it does illustrate the differences in strategies that you can have here at Daytona as you look at some of these beautiful camera shots provided to us by the one and only Dougie Beard, who's built a few custom camera packs for this weekend's festivities that you're going to see tonight and Saturday, all day long, all evening long, and then Sunday during the 200-lap feature event as well, as cars roll out onto the racetrack. We get set to go green flag racing when they come back to the stripe. Time to take a look at the track facts before we go green flag racing. This, of course, is Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. A 2.5-mile, 4.2-kilometer circuit. I know Keenan will like that as a Canadian. We care about the metric system here at Podium Esports. But anyway, place opened in 1959. This tri-oval has 31 degrees of banking in the corners, 18 degrees of banking on the tri-oval, and 2 degrees of banking on the backstretch. It is the default night settings for iRacing, May 15th, 2021. The in-sim time, it is just after 9 o'clock locally in sim. Temps are very balmy, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, both on track and in the air. Winds are headed to the north at 2 miles an hour. Humidity levels of 55%. We go for 100 laps, 250 miles, 402 kilometers this evening. We've got 3 green-white checkers available to these drivers. We've got 4 sets of tires available to these drivers in the pits. And most importantly, the top 8 drivers in tonight's race will advance into time trials tomorrow as Robert Duvendak leads the field out of turn 4 for the first time this evening. The pace truck will get set to pull off pit road, and we will begin our odyssey from 359 drivers down to 1 in the largest independent iRacing event of all time as the green flag comes out, and we are underway with the 2021 Podium 500 preliminary race as Duvendak and Poston will go door to door, and these cars will come to full song into 1 and 2 for the first time. Keenan.
Very separated start, James, especially on the outside. You're already seeing some big separation in between the outer line there, especially on the inside line as well. There was a little bit of a checkup on the start, but yeah, everyone trying to kind of find their position there as Jordan Brockle right on the back bumper. Oh, actually moving to the outside, trying to make an early move for the lead here, but don't think he's going to be able to pull it off unless he gets some help with the 111 of Jaron Valley stepping out to try to be the catalyst for change there and get that outside line moving.
It's so interesting to see how this pans out because normally, Rents, even within this first lap, you see these drivers and you see their strategies become very apparent very quickly. There'll be a handful that will think that avoiding the wreck will be done by going to the front. There'll be a handful that think that the best way to stay out of trouble is to go to the back. And you're already, I think, seeing it as these drivers get down into single file racing very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess, as it's called. So as we go through turn 2 right now, the front 5 look to be about single file, as you see, but right up on that top groove, as here we go, looks like we're going to get one going right up to the top lane of the racetrack. Looks like Jaren Valley is trying to make a move, ducks back down in line into turn 3. It's just about trying to figure out who your dance partners are. The race is still young, but you're trying to figure out who you want to work with early, because as the race plays on, James, you want to make sure that you have that confidence of having the right pusher behind you.
There aren't really any teammates within any of the many technical alliances or independent teams within iRacing that we are aware of coming into this race. And that's what makes this so intriguing to me, Keenan, is that these drivers, as Ren said, are going to have to find their best friends out on the racetrack. Now, a lot of these drivers were in the practice session for a very long time. It opened at 8 o'clock Eastern, so they had a full hour to get used to the track. And we saw them working together, starting pit parties, trying to figure out the draft. It makes me wonder if some of these drivers already know who they're going to work with and already know who their best friends in this field are before we even get to lap 5.
You know, James, just like you said, that actual practice session that before the session is really helpful in being able to get temporary friends, let's say. It's at the end of the day, it's every man for himself. Basically, this is a 200-mile-an-hour Royal Rumble. A lot of these guys are going to be making friends here temporarily, but I got to imagine at the end of the race, when it's coming down, push comes to shove, especially for that number 8 transfer spot, there will be some no love lost between these guys. As I'm saying that, keeping your eye on the number 8 transfer spot currently is the number 39 of Justin T. Miller. Getting a little bit dicey back here. It's still kind of spread out, but we are seeing some cars in the 10th, around the 10th position. Jordan Brockle, as well as not Jaren Valley, I'm a liar, but just spreading out a little bit at the back. But those front guys, top 5, top 4, definitely just what we're looking to ride, looking to get some laps under their belt. This is a 100-lap race, and we are absolutely going to be seeing some cautions and stuff. So we got over an hour until we're going to be able to see who's going to be actually transferring into the final spots here. But looks like that might be the secondary race. We've got to keep an eye on the 8th position for the rest of the evening.
We'll keep our eyes on it. Meanwhile, Rents Brown, you've already heard of some issues with our pole sitter currently riding in second, the number 99 of Robert Duvendak.
Yeah, Robert Duvendak actually lost force feedback, it sounds like, and that's really important here. You don't think of force feedback being a big thing at Daytona, especially with how smooth the track is, as we have a fight for the lead at the same time. Here comes Valley to the outside of turn 3 and 4. He's getting the shove side by side for the race lead as we go along, but the big point I want to make here is when it comes to force feedback, you want to be able to feel the bump. You want to be able to feel the push as they turn. They're wrecking off of, they're spinning, they're flipping. James, they're absolutely going crazy on the front stretch.
Already on lap number 6, we've got trouble in the front straightaway. Anthony Poston was the first one that I saw go sideways, but that is a faster pair down for a good chunk of this field. We'll take a look at the replay momentarily and see what happened. But Keenan, as I go back and watch it, looks like Duvendak came up into Jaren Valley and turns him right in the middle of the triangle.
Yeah, James, that's what I'm seeing in the replay here as well. Got to imagine that maybe that no force feedback played a factor. Really hard to judge your inputs on the wheel without having some sort of resistance. Maybe just underturned. It sounds a little strange to say, but when you're basically flying blind when it comes to steering response, that's basically all I could say here. It came up on a half a lane. Looked like it was trying to maybe push it 3, but considering how safe those guys in the front 5 were driving, I think that's going to say the unlikely. Probably nail this down to a technical side, but Duvendak going to have some egg on his face here and some apologies to hand out for that one.
A little bit. There's certainly no denying that. Now, of course, biggest key here, Rents, is that these drivers do have one fast repair available to them, so it's not the end of the night entirely for, maybe a Tom Morano or a Jaren Valley, somebody who picked up a tremendous amount of damage in this incident. But now, I think you have to figure they're going to go to the back and they're going to sit and they're going to wait this out, knowing that there is no second chance for their cars, the same way there might be for a Jake Balmain or a Jordan Bickle, some of these drivers who were a little bit further back in the field and managed to cut underneath the incident as it was happening in the triangle and escape damage.
Yeah, you know, burning your fast repair this early on is really tough because it's a 100-lap race. It's not like what we get in A fixed or B fixed where it's really quick. This is going to be one of those, now you really have to stay in the back. If it were me, I'd be riding in the back to right around 10 to go because you have no choice. The people that made it through the wreck miraculously, the ones that went underneath the flying race cars, got a better chance. But the ones that are wrecked out, I mean, James, it's tough because you want to race. We're all racers, but at the same time, the thought process has to be, let's ride in the back. We got pit stops we have to do. Keep in mind, there are pit stops still have to happen. So put yourself in the best position possible for the end. The beginning of the race means nothing if you can't make it to the end. So difficult, but, you know, it's not impossible for some of these guys to make that top 8.
It's a, yes, would it be cool to win this race? For sure. Would it be awesome to lead a lot of laps and be out up front? Yeah. But end of the day, Keaton, the only thing that really matters is finishing top 8 so you can go time trial tomorrow and go join the fun with everybody else. We're going to send about 12 people home at the end of this race. Their 500s are over, I would say, compared to a lot of other people before they really even began.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hardest part about these transfer races, whether it's the preliminary race we're doing now, duels, or anything, is really just changing your mindset and warping your mindset to focus on that 8th position or that transfer spot rather than I need to gain as many spots as I can. Especially at Daytona, we go 2-3 wide coming to the line. The difference between 8th and 10th could be feet, inches. I don't know how you Americans use your your measurement tools, but
Freedom units.
But, you know, it could be really, really close. So a lot of these guys, especially those that were just caught up in this, I think they have to mentally reset, mentally focus, and focus on, all right, I don't need to win. I don't even need to be in the top 3. I don't even need to get interviewed, even though hearing James Pike's voice in the interview booth is a very nice feeling. But top 8, that's all you need. Top 8, top 8, top 8, that's it. So like Ren said, right now, having that fast repair is an invaluable resource. So to have that taken away within the first 10 laps, I think your only choice is, even if you end up losing the draft, going a lap down, you have to save. You have to make sure you are there at the end of the race, whether that's with a couple of dings on your front bumper or not. That car has to cross the finish line.
Right, yeah, no, and to be clear, we're seeing a little bit in chat, so we'll clear it up for everybody. One fast repair for everybody in this video. One fast repair. Now, the interesting thing that I'm noticing, Reds Brown, is that while there are some who really had no choice, Jaron Valley and Tom Morano in particular, who had all that engine damage, I think had to take the fast repair. Anthony Poston did not seem to have too much damage, and he is elected to stay on pit road to try and get this car fixed up as best he can. So he is willing to go maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 laps down in order to maintain the fast repair.
Yeah, but then you start playing that game of you're praying for cautions at that point. Well, while that could happen, as actually Anthony's leaving the pits right now as we speak, out and away he goes. Picker did a great job repairing that race car at lightning speed. But the big thing really is going to come down to now you're playing the game of praying for cautions, and that's really difficult at Daytona because we've had races in the past where, you know, it can go caution-free to the end, or we could just keep getting wrecks and it could help him out. So he plays a dangerous game, not taking that fast repair, but as we come back getting ready for green here, anything is possible, but man, that's a tough feeling to have, James, not really knowing what's going to happen. The race is now really fully out of your control.
Out of your control, but in the control of Jake Balmain, who will lead us off on turn 4 back to green flag racing on lap 10 of 100. We do also have 3 green-white checkers available, so we could potentially go past lap 100, depending on how things pan out. But yes, so much to cover, so much ground to talk about in the next few days as we whittle it down from 359 down to 1, as Balmain, Brockle, and McNamara will go single file with Grinnell, Valley, and Schrader. There's not really much side-by-side racing, Keaton, and I wonder if that early incident might have scared everybody and spooked them a little bit.
From somebody who ran the iRacing 500 last year and was very inexperienced, that first big wreck could really spook somebody, but we are seeing the 111 right now of Jaron Valley trying to make something happen on the outside. This is the second time he's trying to get something going here. I really thought these guys were going to sit very, very conservatively, especially with how conservative that start was. Tons of gap in between the drivers, but Jaren Valley thinks the safest place right now is the front of the pack. He's trying to make that move done. He's got 2 cars behind him. He's got the 84 and the 11, so he's got Jordan Brockle, and it looks like Tom Morano up there as well. That is the 68. Reading is very hard. So it's got Tyler Grinnell and Tom Morano on the top line, but we've got 4 cars on the inside. Big separation back. So all these guys you're seeing right now are transferring. They don't need to race this hard, but as many of you probably already know, it's very difficult to just not focus on not getting that top position, especially when you think that might be the safest place to be right now.
Also note, Brandon Wynn has come down pit road, Brent Brown, and I wonder if that's to separate himself from the rest of this field and get himself out of the pack and away from trouble. If I am in that 41 car, that's my move right now.
That would be my move. He's no longer going like the wind, but he's trying to keep the wind in his sails for later on in this race. You're welcome for that pun. I heard that snicker as side by side for the race lead there, James. It's just one of those things where I feel like you can control your race a lot better if you can just get to the lead. I know in my experience of racing at Daytona and Talladega, just through all the years of doing this on the sim, the best place to be is in the lead, where you can just kind of control your own fate for a little bit. You're not going to fully be able to control it. Or as the 83 continues to battle the 111, both of them holding their line a little spread out, to be honest with you, beyond about 5th position. That bottom lane really isn't as packed together as they've been before. So maybe a little give and take a little early on. They know they've got pit stops. So anything's really possible here, but I just think everyone's kind of just minding their P's and Q's right now, knowing that this is a 100-lap race.
Same sort of story for Kelly Everett's too in the 9 machine. He's also stayed well back in this group, so it looks like he and Brandon Wynn are on the same strategy. They'll lose the time, they'll wait for a yellow flag to come out, probably get a lucky dog at some point, get back on the lead line, and then make a charge a little bit later on. And then, conversely, Keenan, you've got guys like Jaren Valley and Tom Morano, who even though they burn the faster pair, they still think the smart play is to go up to the front and try and be ahead of any wrecks that might happen a little bit further back.
Ooh, big wiggle from the 5 there on the bottom, the 5 of Brent McNamara. Seen that a lot of these guys too, maybe just getting a little bit close to the apron, maybe just trying to look ahead and see if they could see what's going on up front. We're not seeing super close contact from these guys right now. Lots of space in between the individual cars. But yeah, like you said, James, maybe that's their best plan, but I would love to be wrong, but I don't know if that's the smartest plan considering we're on lap 14. If anything can happen, we just saw the first wreck of the race happen for P2, P3, so you know, if that's where these guys feel comfortable, then that's the best decision for them as the 111 of Jaren Valley gets a little bit of shot from the 68 of Tyler Grinnell. You know, if that's where they feel comfortable, then that's where they have to be. But I'm not sure if that is the wisest decision, but I would love for them to prove me wrong.
It would be intriguing. It would be interesting. I also saw Mark Schrader drop out of this group and head to the back. So he, too, also on that Everton win strategy of get me out of this mess, and I'll come rejoin it later when it's more important to be there. So we'll keep an eye on which drivers decide to drop back as Rents. Yeah, it's getting tight.
Oh, man. Wow, okay, so what we just saw right there was the 5 of Brent McNamara absolutely just lose the front end, it looks like. And that's a really easy thing to do. You don't think it's an easy thing to do at Daytona because you think, okay, I'm going wide open, it's fine, as the top has completely died down. There's only 2 cars on the top now. It looks like the bottom's probably going to prevail for a bit. But it's one of those, you got to set yourself up, as I say that, there goes someone to the top, but you got to set yourself up for the bottom. You have to turn in before you think you do because you're following the guy in front of you and you can't see in front of you. So you're relying just on reference points of the apron, you're relying on reference points of the yellow line. So it's really easy to lose your bearings, especially if there's someone above you, because you're just turning the wheel which you think that you need to turn instead of really turning it in there, making sure that the nose plants, as the 99 is actually falling to the back as well. A lot of people are doing this strategy call right now of just playing it safe, James.
And just waiting, and he almost turned into one car a little bit further out the racetrack. I think that was the 3 machine of Martin Vires, who just about got sideswiped by the 99. Meanwhile, Chris Jones and Mark Schrader have found each other at the back. Looks like those two are going to try and draft together to make sure that they have some space. We've got a little group in the back here, and then the top 6, 7, call it 8 cars, Keenan, all still in this 2x2 battle where there's certainly a lot of space between them. They're not necessarily pressing right up on one another like you're going to see a little bit later in the weekend by the top drivers in the Podium 500. But, you know, they're not necessarily leaving a lot of room either in case something happens.
Ooh, Tyler Grinnell, I think I just saw getting a little bit close to the wall. Don't scare me like that, Tyler. There's still a lot of race left to go, but yeah, like you're saying, they're not necessarily being safe, but they're also not. Oh, the five on the apron, that could have been huge. That could have been huge. McNamara putting it on the apron, catching the car. And I was just about to say there's some diciness happening up in the front. I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but some cars are starting to drop back. There is a second pack starting to form, and moments like that are going to change the guys' mind behind the 5-car Brett McNamara going, you know what? Not today. Not today. I'm going to get off the throttle. I'm going to let these guys go by me. We're just going to hang out like halfway behind. But back to the 8th position. Currently, the keeper is the number 39 of Justin T. Miller. They are racing up in front of him. He's basically alone right now. He's not so super alone, but no car directly in front, no car directly behind. He's got lots of room if there's a wreck. You got the 99 of doing back, trying to make something happen to catch back up to him. But right now, these guys are basically just in a holding position. But the guys in front of them are doing a lot more racing than they need to be, but it's sure putting on a show for us.
About to say, part of me is both scared and part of me also can't complain with the way things are going here. So it could be a lot of fun to see how it pans out as you ride on board the number 39 of Justin T. Miller. He's the one, if he's lonely in the middle there, does he have no one to call his own, Keenan?
You know what, James? I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Yeah, he's just constant 90s music references. But
I mean, I'm not complaining. You know me.
No, I understand most of them. You have slightly more boomer brain than I do, just by a pinch. But, the 24 almost in the wall. 24 Joel almost in the wall. Another big catch. These guys are having moments, but really showing off their driving skill. Like catching over 5 underneath the line. Is he gonna try to push back up? No, he's gonna use his brain, think better of it. He's sideways again. That 5-car just having nothing but problems. Brett McNamara gonna slow down the car behind him, which is I think the 39 of Justin Miller, still hanging on to that 8th position. Justin having a huge moment. That transposition almost went away right in front of his eyes, but now he's got the 5, the problem child currently of that top 8 right in front of him. Whew.
Cars just had trouble getting through the quarters here, Ritz Brown. I don't know if there's another way to describe it besides that, honestly.
I'm not sure if he's racing on a power glove or if he's got Google Glass, but good save every single time, because he is about killed the car about 6 or 7 different times. He's now a single file back there, but it's one of those things where I think he's getting caught out. These cars are a little unstable in super speedway racing because of how fast they're going in a pack, so maybe he's getting caught out by the speed going into the corner. But in any case, he did a pretty good job holding on to it. He's still got a good shot. He's running in right now in the 8th spot, so he hasn't lost that transfer position, James. But you know, maybe you think about just riding in the back for a little bit and just saving yourself and saving, you know, some of those wild moves, as the 99 and the 111 are now tandeming towards the front as the 30 hits the apron. A lot of people bouncing off the apron tonight.
I think the interesting thing here is that this group seems like it's sort of naturally sorting itself out, that you've got about 5 or 6 that really do want to run up at the front and really do feel like they've got a good feel for things. Jake Balmain and Jordan Brockle have linked up in the 1-2 spots down on the bottom, and they actually do look pretty comfortable. There have been a few apron bounces here and there, but it feels like they've got a good handle on things. And then you go a little bit further back, you have guys like Tom Morano, Mark Rios, Rob Connors, Rodney Cobb, everybody who's just trying to hold out and wait for their moment, but naturally they're sort of spreading out. And the question then, Keenan, is if you're around the 5-car, or if you're a Justin Miller or Joe Ogle, somebody like that, do you drop back to catch that second pack, or do you stay where you are? What's the safer play?
I think if you're out of the top 8 right now, Pike, maybe Brent McNamara, I don't think he's got that much help behind him. So yeah, I think maybe dropping back and just playing it safe and praying that these guys in front wreck, because every time I look at them, it seems like they're going to line up and they're just going to focus. Someone pulls out a line just for fun, for funsies. So maybe that is the play. I can't speak on Brent McNamara.
Oh, 24! Oh, off the apron. He's good.
Once and twice and once and twice. Yeah, that was tight, Reds. That was really, really tight.
I need you to stop, boys. You're scaring me.
Spooky.
It's spooky.
I don't blame him. He's pretty spooky at points. So just as spooky as my love for 90s music. Maybe a little bit over the top.
Can never be not spooky enough.
Don't shame yourself. Do not shame yourself for that. You have a passion.
Well. Let's put it this way, Keaton. How bizarre
I'm leaving.
Is it that we've seen so many people bounce off the apron and not wreck? Because to me, that's one of these sort of subplots of these first 25 laps or so, that we've seen a lot of apron bouncing. We've seen a lot of people clip it, and yet we've not had a wreck off of one of these apron bounces once. Although, of course, because I said it, it'll probably happen here in a while.
Oh, yeah,
100%. But at least to now, we haven't seen it.
You know, and Rent's made a good point about the cars being difficult to drive, especially when they're this trimmed out. But another thing to factor in, another thing to think of is I think we might be catching some lap traffic here. But another thing to think about is maybe it's just nerves. This is a big race. This is the start of a possible long weekend for these guys. Again, like we said, this could just be the first of multiple podium sessions they're going to be into leading up to Sunday, possibly. So, you know, a lot of pressure on them. They know if they don't finish this top 8, they don't make it today, that this is their weekend over. This is before it even starts. So maybe just nerves and having to hold the wheel as straight as you do on tracks like these super speedways like Daytona. If you're driving a little nervous and you're maybe turning in a little bit too much or too little, you could see guys pushing up when they shouldn't be pushing up and catching the apron like we've seen from multiple guys tonight, not to single anybody out. But you got to think of the mental game here as well, as these tracks are very, I love the way Rent's put it at the beginning of the top of the broadcast. It's a chess game for 200 miles or 250 miles, however long we're going here, 100 laps. So you got to factor in the mental things that these guys are going through, whether that's fatigue or just losing focus or like I said, nerves. Really something you have to factor in here. But this top little group here of about 4 or 5 cars got nothing to worry about because they are in clean zone. As long as they just kind of have a little truce. They have 1 lap car in the mix there, as I think with Anthony Poston in 17th position in the 30 machine. But other than that, they're basically on their own right now. They could just hang out, they could just chill, have a couple pina coladas, you know, get caught in the rain, hang out, ask each other what their favorite color is. They don't got to do anything right now. Just got to hang out.
So we went full 80s there on that. Also, the Canadian will be forgiven for having to make sense of the imperial system. 200 miles,
Thank you.
250 miles, doesn't matter. We should just let you say 402 kilometers and you'll be okay, because you know
Thank
that's
you.
easy. So we respect it. We respect it here. We get it, because they're bouncing around a little bit further back. But no, interesting point I think that Keenan makes, Anthony, that you do have Anthony Poston in the 30 machine just sort of sitting there and hanging out amongst these front drivers who look relatively capable in this group. At least compared to the rest of the field, this looks like a group that can hang out in a 4 or 5 car drive for a little bit, and we're seeing evidence of that in the gap that they're building on some of these drivers further behind, because you go a little bit further back, and between Kyle Payne and Joe Ogle, it's about a 2-second gap, so they are starting to stretch on the second pack in the field.
Yeah, they most certainly are starting to stretch a little bit. Some guys, you know, as by the way, the lapper that we caught was Brandon Wind. He is right behind the first 5 cars. He's just chilling. He pitted early. Remember, he pitted right around the restart. So that's why you see him up there in that shot right now. That's who we just lapped. But on to the point of why we're seeing these gaps. Some of it also is, James, they're saving a little bit of fuel behind this lead pack. The more you kind of let off the throttle a little bit and modulate the throttle pedal a little bit, just kind of coast and lift, you can save a little bit of fuel. You might be able to go a lap extra than the other guys, and that might benefit you later on in terms of leapfrogging this lead pack. So necessarily being in the front is good, but you do burn a lot of fuel, and this is a 100-lap race at Daytona. So with fuel strategy still being a thing, as we see the 111 not really wanting to stay just in line, he wants to boogie. You know, it's just going to be one of those things where maybe they're saving just a tad bit of fuel, just trying to see if maybe they can leapfrog some of these guys.
I think we're seeing the 111 strategy pretty clearly, Keenan. It's get to the outside, go to the front, and if you can't go to the front, then maybe tuck it back in. But to me, it's very clear and obvious that Jaren Valley wants to be up front controlling this as best he can. The problem is that even though you can want to run the outside, whether or not you actually have success up there isn't really your own decision to make. You need help. You need other drivers that will go up there with you and run that top line. And right now, nobody else in this top 5 is willing to do that with him. So he's just got to ride around back and sit and wait for his moment maybe to make a lead.
Yeah, I mean, unlike other forms of motorsport or other forms of even oval racing, you're not really in control here whether you want to go or not. You can poke the nose out and kind of timidly kind of edge out a line and see if anyone wants to go with you. But considering the only person behind Jaren right now who is of any sort of help is Brandon Wind, who is a lap down. And normally you don't really see lap down cars pushing lead lap cars to try to get something to happen here. I don't think we're going to see him break Wind here and move up to the outside. But, you know, the 111 is trying so... You can do it, I can do it, Rentz. You started. You brought this evil on yourself. But as I say that, Jaren gaining 1 position. I think they're moving up to 3rd.
I just put my fingers like in my eyes.
That's a Slipknot reference.
You put fingers in your eyes.
Just about, yeah. Because I mean, that wasn't great. Let's be honest. That wasn't great.
No, it wasn't. But Rentz brought this upon all of you. So if you guys want to get mad, you know who to blame here.
I'm not going to get mad. I'm going to get glad that I'm calling Okay, all right. Even I'll admit that that was a little bit terrible. But in the meantime, I just looking at this field top to bottom, I like the way that Jake Balmain's hanging out. Brandon Wind is going to be hanging out somewhere in the back, and looks like he's a shall we say, a fan favorite, Rentz, if chat's any indication?
I could see that being a fan favorite. I mean, chat's been going ham the last couple of, I guess for the last 30 laps. So then again, we're seeing again, Jaren is not wanting to stay in line. You know what this reminds me of? What was it, 2 years ago, Chase Elliott in the Xfinity race?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to sit behind anyone. No one really wanted to race. And Chase was just making moves on his own. He really wants to make moves up to the front. Now, pit stops are coming up sooner rather than later. So, I mean, I would ride. I don't know why I would try to go up to the lead when you're up in a 4th place position. There's really no need to race right now. It's really spread out, which is very surprising for Daytona, but everyone's really minding those P's and Q's. Keenan, you can blame me all you want. You started it too. But it looks like Jaren just is not, James, again, not content with riding behind. As, you know, we have 4-car pack, 5-car pack up here. I would ride until that pit stop.
What's most interesting to me is that Jaren Valley keeps on peeking out to the outside, and he's getting absolutely nothing for help. And yet, at the same time, this second pack isn't necessarily catching the first one all that much. They finally lined up here, and it looks like they are starting to run the lead group down, but it's not like they've totally just eaten this gap alive the way you think they would if Jaren Valley puts them side by side, Keenan, no?
Yeah, it's, I don't know why he keeps trying to do that. He's in 3rd place. He's in a very safe space right now, and they're in their own little enclave because 5th on back are nowhere near them right now. So all they got to do is just line up, maybe move the lap cars out of the way, which is just consisting now of Anthony Poston in the 17, or the 30 rather, who's in 17th position. Who I got to tell you, out of all the guys a lap down, this man has the biggest brain, because if the caution comes out, he's 1st place right now for the lucky dog, and by a country mile. Because these guys are just chilling, they're hanging out. There's not a whole lot of aggressive passing going on. So Brandon, to try to catch up to them right now, is going to need a buddy and I think the only person who's going to be willing to make anything happen is Jaren Valley in the 111.
Here's the thing, though. He's going so big brain that he's not thinking about that first yellow that's going to get somebody lined on. He's thinking about 3 yellows up from now, maybe 4. Or actually, no. This gets interesting here because, actually, no. Keenan, you're a psychic, you're a genius, and your crystal ball is brilliant because Anthony Poston just passed Kelly Everson tonight. That yellow car on the outside, that was for position. So now, Poston is in control of that lucky dog, like you said. He wasn't when you were talking about it, but you just predicted the future. So if anybody needs their palm read or like a tarot card or something, Mr. HD, ladies and gentlemen, nobody better in iRacing Twitch.
Listen, it was a happy accident. It was a happy accident, but like...
Can you
like
give me the lotto numbers next time, then?
About to say, yeah. Like, I mean, can I play Powerball with you, Keaton?
I just pick all threes for Dale, man. I don't know if that's helpful or hurtful to you, but I know
Hey,
the only
3 for
number I
Dale.
need in my life. Yeah. Yee ha. That's 3 for Dale.
Yee. So, no, valid point, though, that Poston now is in control. So, and then we had this little battle between Poston, Brandon Wynn, and Kelly Everett. Those 3 are in their own little race to be the first one 2 laps down. Also worth noting, all of them are 2 laps down, and we don't have anybody 1 lap down yet. There is the trio of Chris Jones, Mark Schrader, and Mark Vires, who are running in their own pack, and they are certainly losing time to your leaders. But as it stands, it is Anthony Poston to be in position for the lucky dog. He would just need 2 of them to get back up on the lead lap.
We are going to start seeing a nice little fight right here. The 111 is starting to get that push from the 99. Robert and Jaron are back together once again. The band is back together on the top of the racetrack in 1 and 2. They're starting to get that run that I've been talking about. This is the passing lane that I was talking about earlier at the top of the broadcast. You want to run the bottom if you're going to try to protect your lead. But on the top, this is where you're going to get the run. You're going to get momentum off of the corner. Take it down the straightaway. Here comes the 99, giving the 111 a shot into turn number 3. So far, we haven't had the issue of pushing the pusher. So we're pretty good right there. And what that generally means is you don't want to push the guy that's already pushing the guy ahead of you. So at the moment, the top is 3 cars lined up, James. Looks like they're starting to make a run for the lead. I'd assume they're trying to get themselves in the position soon for a pit stop. So my guess is they're trying to jump and try to control the pack. As there goes Jaron trying to clear him. He will into turn number 1. He hits the 8 for the 83. Oh no.
Oh, hang on to it, boys.
Hang on to it.
Oh, that 39 who's wiggling, the hips were out. Shakira there in the 39 car. All over the road there, but ended up catching it. Justin T. Miller with the softest hands in iRacing. Big catch, but a big catch from the 83 as well.
I almost think that Jaron Valley coming down in front of the 83 spooked Balmain, and he tried to overcorrect to make sure he didn't get hit. And even though he was all covered, he was fine. But pit stops for some of the top cars. That was the call, I think, for Balmain to come in. And maybe this is the move where some of these cars come down and separate themselves by coming down pit road runs. They form their own new packs.
They form their own new packs, but they got to make sure that they are all together when they leave pit road. There's nothing worse than going to the dance alone. Looks like we had the 12 of Tyler Gennell miss his box altogether. He's just going to go right through pit lane. That's going to be detrimental to him in this race, as everyone else looks taking tires, taking fuel. It looks like long stops for everybody. You're just going to fill this thing full at this point, fill it full of fuel, put tires on it, and just keep going as this pack is going to start kind of dissipating, but it's going to be about staying together. That's the big point. You don't want to go to the dance alone. And at this point, I'd want to have a dancing partner.
That's the biggest thing, Kenny. You come on pit road on your own here, you are absolutely up a creek without a paddle, and it is almost a guarantee that you are going to lose a lap. If you get stuck on your own coming out of pit road, you are in big trouble. And that's exactly what I think Balmain and Kyle Payne might be in now, because they really did struggle to get off of pit road, and now they're going to have to fight to have some sort of drafting help around them.
Yeah, and, you know, that's got to be the worst feeling, is when you go to pull in the pit lane and you look behind, you look in front of you, and you are all alone. But that's the beauty of sim racing. That's the beauty of iRacing as well, is you can make those friendships, you can make those temporary alliances a couple laps ahead. You know, and very, very frequently you'll hear in superspeedway racing, you know, 111 pitting, 99 pitting, and a lot of guys will either jump in behind you so they don't leave the draft, or, you know, that'll be the catalyst for you to go, well, if they're going to pit, then I might as well pit, you know, even if it's not part of the plan. You know, if you get losing the draft right now, again, there's a lot of race left, but unfortunately, we do have quite a bit of cars falling a lap down, so it's not as safe as it would have been, you know, at the start of the race, where if you fall a lap down, it's not a big deal because you're probably one of the first 2 or 3, but that number is starting to grow here as we're moving through green flag pit stops. We'll have to see how many cars are falling a lap down when we cycle through, but not a game you want to be playing, especially when, you know, when you're... Oh, speaking of green flag pit stop, here come your leaders.
Leaders are down. Valley is down. Dubendak, Justin Miller. We'll see. Jaron just about locked it up and spun it out. It was close. for the 111 machine, but he comes down with Duvendak and Miller, and it looks like Anthony Poston is coming down with the leader. So even though he's not on the same lap as them, he's racing effectively with that pack, and that turns the lead over to Joe Ogle in the 24, Rents.
198 miles an hour down to 60. That is what you must hit to get into pit lane safely. And Jaron used every bit of his brakes to make sure he woed all the way down to 60 miles an hour. Hopefully he didn't get hit with a speeding penalty there, but you got to get everything coming to pit road as he's out and away. And now the leaders here, it's difficult once you're not in like a giant pack. You know, the leader's just kind of by himself. Joe is just by himself, and that's really, he's going to be betting on a caution more than anything else at this point because there's no one else around him. The next car back is 6 seconds behind him, and they're in a pack. So once they eat him alive, I'd assume that they'd pit soon because the last time that the 44 pitted was lap 8. So looking at it from the standpoint of where Rodney Cobb is in P2, I think they're going to be pitting soon, but I just don't know if the 24 is in a good spot. I really don't, because he's got no help.
He's got some drivers around him, but letting all of them go, he could try and ride their draft train and hang out back, but instead he's going to bounce off the fence as he tries to get to pit road. So just,
only I can do that.
Yeah, you got to teach the kids something, don't we, Renz?
Oh, once or twice.
Once, twice, 3 times, maybe more. Who knows? We do know for a fact, though, that it is Cobb, Connors, and Morano. They've yet to pit, but they are your race leaders as it stands. So worth noting that as this group really is spread out, and Jaron Valley is the first car out on the racetrack that has come down for service. He leads the group of drivers that are coming down pit road and would take over the race lead, but Keaton, he's completely on his own, so there's going to be an opportunity for the rest of the field to catch back up to him if this all checks out.
And for those wondering how close that was, Jared Valley, the 111 car, by my eyes, was doing 62 miles an hour, about 2 frames away from the line. He just got that car down to 60. That is, I wouldn't say textbook, because we were all a little bit spooked here, but that was a great recovery getting that car stopped and minimizing a penalty. But in that 5th position, we got a little bit of a tussle here for 8th, but it's so hard to tell right now in the middle of pit stops. But we do have 8th and 9th right on each other's bumper. We got Jordan Brockell in the 84, right behind that transfer spot of Kyle M. Payne in the 18, trying to defend with some lap cars in the mix. This is going to be one of the most stressful parts of the race now as well, with those lap cars mixed in, because they've got their own agenda. They got their own things they want to do. Either they want to, get to the front of the lap car pack, be able to get that lap back, but or they're just still trying to ride, because but at that point, we might be seeing green flag. Oh, we see more green flag pit stops, as I think the last 3 coming in: Cobb, Connors, and Morano.
We are indeed seeing the last of green flag pit stops, save for Brandon Wood and Kelly Everett, who are staying out. They came down under that first yellow flag, so they've got a few more laps they can run, but this will be everybody who did not come down at the start of this race down pit road now. Clean stops for this group, which has just been very consistent throughout this race, but it's Jaron Valley who's got control of the race at the moment, and then Robert Duvendak and Jordan Brockell, who are running in 2nd and 3rd. Interestingly, Duvendak was paired up with Anthony Poston and is about 6 seconds clear of Jordan Brockell, who appears to be in the main pack with Justin Miller, Kyle Payne, Brett McNamara, and company.
Yeah, at this point, I'm looking at that giant pack of, Payne, McNamara, everyone in this pack right here. This is for the transfer spot. Up front, yeah, Jaron's got that lead up there, but this is, for me, honestly, this is the most nerve-wracking spot to be in. Up in the lead in a dual race like this, in a transfer race like this, I can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone behind Jaron is a lap down. Everyone behind Jaron is not for position. So he can just really ride. Other than Robert, no one else is really challenging him. So this is the time of the race where I can relax, kind of maybe just loosen my grip on the steering wheel a little bit, take a deep breath, grab a drink of water, because there's really no fight. Now, as I say that, here comes some cars that aren't for position passing him on the bottom. That's going to allow Robert to get right back up on his back bumper. So there's going to be a little bit of fighting, but it's not going to be like what it is for the transfer spot right now, where you're constantly trying to think of and be aware of what's happening, where am I going, how am I going to do this. the X, Y, and the Z's of trying to transfer into the big show, or at least transfer into the next day.
Yeah, tomorrow. But even still, yeah, it's an interesting question. I saw it in chat. I'll ask myself and turned it to Keenan. Was that Jared Valley blocking there, or does he just like the outside that much? Because I think you can make a decent case for both reasons based off of what we've seen. More often than not, when there's been a pack, Valley's gone to the top side pretty much every single time.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't a block because there's no need to. Both those cars are a lap down right now. I don't know if he's just trying to establish dominance and say, hey, I'm the leader of the race. I'm setting the pace. I'm not letting you guys pass me. But, and a lot of times when you do see this happen, actually I say that, he's getting freight trained right now by a couple of the cars. But a lot of times you'll see these issues is that when the pack gets all split up and the leaders get all mixed in with lap cars, normally if there's a wreck, it does not involve the leader doing something. It's some of these lap cars that maybe don't make a mistake or have an issue. So maybe he's just again sticking to that strategy of I want to stay in front. I want to stay in front. And to see trying to get something done on the outside to get past your new race leader, Robert Duvendak, the pole sitter, taking the lead back.
Duvendak fighting his way back up to the front, and one of the cleaner cars in this field. Remember, Valley wrecked early on in this race, so he is out of fast repairs, and he and Tom Morano, I think, represent the two biggest names that are out of fast repairs as Valley tried to go to the outside and get behind Poston and Duvendak. Instead, they'll ditch the 17 and Mark Schrader down low and send him backwards in this back as Valley maintains that top line, and they bounce off once again, Reds.
I don't know what it is. Is there like an invitation to hit the apron tonight or something? Because it is just when you hit the apron, you bounce all the way up there. I've been seeing it all night long. But Robert Duvendak's got a partner. Anthony Poston is really just staying locked to his back bumper. Obviously got to watch those temperatures if you are in the number 30 car, because those temperatures will rise and you may lose a motor if you push too hard or stay behind someone for too long. There are ways of getting around that. But at the moment, Robert's got clean air in front of him, smooth sailing. Jaren's probably going to try the move off turn 4 is what my guess is going to be. He's going to get the run on the 17 and try something. 17's not really holding a lane too great, but he's trying the best he can. It just, they're really just stuck in a lap traffic sandwich. So it's really just smooth sailing for these guys, just for the top spot.
Would be inclined to agree on this one, as Duvendak has got Brockel and has got Mark Schrader as picks to work with Barris. They checked up in the middle of the corner there. They back. It was, really tight there.
Yikes.
A last minute move there, as it looks like the 9 machine is going to drop out of this, and the Max Schrader, Martin Vierens, who
he's out of there.
A dinged up car. Yeah, just wanted to get out of that mess, Keenan, and didn't even want to bother being an issue for the race lead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he's the first car lap down, but the smartest car lap down right now is actually technically leading the field. Anthony Poston maybe getting his lap back, but I'm not sure if he's a lap down or 2 laps down. He is absolutely 2 laps down, so he still has, he needed that position, but he's the leader's best friend, whoever the leader is. It may have been advantageous to the 17 to actually push that 111 past and get his lap back or make sure, but he's only 1 lap down, actually. Like I said, a lot of these guys are just super mixed up right now with those who dropped really early and lost the draft, fell a lap down again due to pit stops. Those who just fell a lap down due to pit stops. There's a huge discrepancy right now in strategy. But it's mostly calm up front, but every time I say that, something happens. So I'm going to keep saying it's mostly calm up front. And hopefully some stuff gets mixed up here. But it's the battle of the lap cars, unfortunately, with the 2 leaders. Renz put it the best way. It's a sandwich. And these guys are going downtown on that ham sandwich, and they're not putting any mustard on it.
So you want to be an agent of chaos with an appetite for destruction. And if that happens, would that make you the master of puppets, Keenan?
Did you just make a Metallica, a Guns N' Roses, and not Megadeth reference? There's a third reference there. I got 2 out of 3.
Yeah. The Agent of Chaos, I'll leave the chat because even I'm blanking on that. But you did.
All right, I got the 2 that I got. Okay, that's great.
You got the 2. You got the 2 that we were looking for there. So
all right.
I'll give you that one.
You threw me an easy one there. I appreciate it.
I figured I could give you a one every once in a while. But at this point, it is time to turn to our iRacing midway race bet. We've crossed halfway. It's time to tell you where every single driver in the field is running. Not before I remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the world of outlaws, and more. Robert Duvendak, your race leader at the midway point of the 2021 Podium 500 preliminary race. Jaron Valley rides in the second position. Third belongs to Jordan Brockle in the 84. Kyle Payne rides fourth. Fifth is where you'll find Rodney Cobb in the 44 machine. Justin Miller holds the sixth position. Seventh belongs to the number 5 of Brett McNamara. It's the 00 of Rob Connors in eighth, followed by Tom Morano in ninth. And 10th place is where Joe Oglegrass rides Brown, who's at 11th through 19th.
Jake Balmain is in the number 11th position. He's currently the final car on the lead lap. Then Chris T. Jones, the first car, one lap down in the number 33, with Tyler Grinnell in the number 68 in 13th, one lap down with Mark Schrader as well. In the number 17, one lap down with Anthony Poston as well. You've been seeing him for the most part up in this lead battle in the number 15th spot. Keenan, would you like to give away the last couple of positions as we look in this mid-race break?
Oh, sweetheart. I thought you were going to only give me the last two. What a guy. Kelly Everett's in the 16th position, the first car 2 laps down. Braden Wind with the best fan club in Twitch, apparently. Also 2 laps down in the 17th position. Mark Vries going to be playing the long game here in 18th. And Jason Ferguson 50 laps down, so maybe possibly with some sort of technical issue. Because we've only been 5 laps in. He's saving he's saving fuel for everybody else.
Yes.
And then we have 2 DNSs of Jackson Vasher and Jason Semara, who are both practicing, but I don't know what happened there. Maybe just disconnected, but we have 19 cars on track and 11 on the lead lap, with our transfer spot being held by Rob Connors, as James Pike said, who is all alone on the racetrack right now.
All alone indeed. And that concludes tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break. With over 170,000 drivers on the service and over 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from, iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today at iRacing.com. As we work our way through this preliminary race, things have settled down a little bit. I think it gives us a chance to talk a bit more about some of the drivers that are in the booth this evening. So, Keenan Kusin, Mr. HD is your usual home. That's where we see you most often. We see the Hot Boys, we see drifty things, but if people decide to come over to your channel, what are they going to see on a day-to-day basis besides just general madness?
I didn't know I was going to get a plug today, but we'll take it. I do a little bit of everything. I call myself a automotive variety streamer. I don't like to nail myself down to just iRacing. I do a little bit of iRacing. If you were paying attention during the 24 hours of Daytona in iRacing, me and my good friend Ian Plash were doing that completely solo. Do a little bit of road stuff, do a little bit of oval stuff. As you said as well, I'm a big advocate for sim drifting and competitive sim drifting, which you'll be able to see on twitch.tv/Podium Esports in the coming future. Stay tuned for that. But I do a little bit of everything over there. Do old games, new games. I just love cars, and if that sounds like a place you guys want to hang out, you've been seeing me post and chat with my sword. Go click that link and drop a follow. But speaking of other people who make some great content in here, hate to steal it from you, Pike, but if I get the plug, Rents gets the plug as well. Rents, what are you up to on the late night with Rents Defense?
Oh man, we're up to so much. We just kind of do everything, whether that be C fixed, B fixed, A fixed, just whatever the night kind of sends our way. Normally really late night, so about 1 a.m. Eastern on the East Coast, obviously Eastern meaning East Coast. There you go, Rents, you figured it out, finally. But yeah, so, we'll just kind of do a little bit of everything. Maybe some IndyCar, maybe some Skip Barbers on the weekends. The Twitch clip fails are back. Yes, they're back on YouTube. That's finally back. So hope you guys are ready for that noise. But yeah, we just kind of have fun. Sometimes Keenan drops in. Sometimes our man James Pike drops in to give us a friendly hello from time to time. Maybe tonight's going to be some C-Fixed. Maybe, you know what? C-Fixed, probably not tonight. Probably going to stay with B-Fixed from Indianapolis and some Skip Barbers from Brazil.
Skippies and Interlagos this week. That sounds fun.
Oh, it's a banger, dude. It is a banger this week.
I could imagine. I actually have to get good at Skippies, but we'll worry about that one later. But I will roll back to Keenan because I do love that he tossed it to Renz to get the Renz plug in. But I also wanted to ask Keenan about his experience with the core league, because Keenan, coming into the fall, had said that he wanted to do a little bit more oval racing. We know his sort of native home in iRacing on the pavement side is the road racing, but he wanted to get a little bit better with these stocky stock cars. So he's been running in the core league, and they've run all fall, winter long. Season finale, I think, is soon, or was earlier this week. I could be.
It was on Monday, Atlanta.
Monday, yeah. So in that season, Keenan, what did you learn about oval racing that you did not know prior to season 3 or 4?
A lot. It is not the same to oval race, road racing at all. And I know a lot of people, whether in sim or in real life, really like to wag their finger at oval racing and go, oh, they're just turning left. And anybody who has any sort of mechanical knowledge knows that's not the case. It's a completely different skill set, and it's not like, you know, you go to Interlagos one week and go to the Roval one week, and you completely have to change your driving style in terms of like, going from a Atlanta sort of track to Daytona, where it's two completely different forms of racing within the same sanction body. It's the same sort of series. The only time you really have to do that in road racing is like if there's rain or like something on the track. But at the end of the day, like what you pick up from other tracks really applies to others. But what I learned on Daytona is not really going to help me at North Wilkesboro. So it's picking up on all those different tracks, and then the entry point's so important. The brakes are so important. Saving your equipment is the hugest thing that I'm still learning as a air quotes rookie oval racer. It's a huge thing. Within iRacing, depending on the car, you can get away with pushing for 5-10 minutes and see if you can gain some spots, and then if you have to save some tires for some strategy call, then there's that. If you don't save your equipment, unless it's a wreck fest, if you don't save your tires at the very least on tracks that aren't flat out like Daytona Talladega, you are in deep trouble. You are going to get freight trained by everybody, and that happened quite a bit throughout the year. So I learned a lot, but I'm definitely not done learning. And quick shout out to the core. Thank you everybody from there who invited me in with zero competitive oval experience and just kind of let me figure it out. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know there were some big-time names in that. I know Rusty Walrus, who's now on the back of a race car for the Daytona 500.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, you didn't say that? Is that?
No.
What? Okay. All right.
We'll talk about that later.
Well, no, we can talk about it now. If anybody wants to go on Twitter and pull up the Live Fast announcement from Live Fast Racing in chat, NASCAR Heat came on to sponsor them for the 500, and the RW is there on the C-pillar and on the rear bumper. So,
no way.
Russell Cox is on a race car for the 500, which is awesome, but he's also not the only other awesome person in that league. Who else was in it?
Ryan Vargas was in there. We had Anthony Alfredo come do some kick flips at one point with his internet that just wasn't playing nice for him. Our winner, Michael Cozy Jr., was in there. David Schildhouse, who's a friend of Podium Esports. Quite a lot of heavy hitters. It wasn't just a rookie league for newbies. There was quite a lot of strong drivers in there who really knew what they're doing. Teammate to Rents Defense, Jonathan Cadell was in there. Won a race, I believe, at Martinsville, I think, if I remember right. So it was cool to be able to box with a lot of those guys. And again, the only way you're going to get better is by driving with people better than you, which is what a lot of these guys are trying to do tonight: race their way into the Podium 500, gain some experience, and maybe even make an upset on Sunday night.
Right. David Schildhouse is going to be part of the broadcast team on Saturday night and Sunday for the feature race, as is Keenan Goosen, who you will hear on Saturday for qualifying heats, 8 of them that will get the chance to run. Also, final question about Core. The North Wilkesboro notes I gave you, did they help?
I need to see things for myself on the track, so I can read like notes on the track as many times as I want, but as soon as you start driving around, like I need to get the muscle memory and learn everything myself. So they did help a little bit, but it was such a wreck fest and people just kept running into each other that I was just like, you know what, I got my podium for the Charlotte Roval. That's all I really wanted to accomplish in my first season was top 5 or get a podium. So I'm just gonna let whatever happens. Ended up killing Schildhouse. I murdered a man, but it helped for the longer runs, which unfortunately we didn't have too many of, but yeah, I understand you are the North Wilkesboro expert.
Well, it's a point of pride for me. I'm a Northwest North Carolina native. I grew up driving on the highway past what was the shell of North Wilkesboro. They left the track right before my memory starts to kick in, only a few years before. So I always sort of looked up there on the hill and wondered what it would be like to race there or see a race there. So to see that race track come online last year in May was a really seminal moment because it's a little bit more than just a cool place. It really is sort of my backyard and home. And it also happens to be one of my favorite ovals on this sim because it races so well. You really do have two grooves if you know what you're doing, and you can never approach each set of corners the same way because there's actually an incline from turn 4 down to turn 1 and an uphill run that you make from turn 2 to turn 3. So it's not necessarily a level track either, and that separates it from, you know, maybe a Richmond or a Phoenix or somewhere where it is pretty much flat all the way around. It gives it some character, which I love a lot. So we'll keep an eye on the transfer battle as we continue through this portion of the race. Of note, Jake Balmain is now 1 lap down, and Rob Connors is fighting to stay on the lead lap. So we'll keep an eye on that. But while we do that, Rents, we talked about Keenan and Cord. You don't really do too much league stuff. It's more official when you go out racing for the most part. Am I right about that?
Yeah, by the way, you just saw a nice little fight for the lead right there. Just want to tie that in real quickly. As one guy's dropping down to the bottom of the apron, giving everyone every single opportunity to go around. Good guy right there. You know, I just kind of, I've stopped doing league racing. I find it way too, what's the word? It's not toxic, but there's that limit where I hit and then it just envelops you and it's just no longer fun. So sometimes official can get a little bit toxic for the most part, as the 5 of Ben McNamara is slowing down considerably. He is going to rejoin the racetrack right in the tri-oval on the bottom lane. Here we go, guys. On the bottom lane of the track, here comes the leaders all around the wall. No harm, no foul, no blood drawn. We keep it clean and green. But yeah, for the most part, just official racing. Some weeks are better than others, but I can't really do leagues. I'll do one-offs. NIS, I think the last NIS race I did was when I finished second in the Southern 500 last year. So I'm going to be doing the iRacing Daytona 500. Outside of that, it's just going to be probably special events and some other things. Really focusing on the endurance racing side of things this year with Paceworks Esports that I run all the road racing endurance events for. So we finished 4th at Daytona, 2 weeks ago now. So that's a nice start to the endurance racing season for us. But for the most part, just oval fixed series and stuff of that nature. But it's a lot of fun. You find ways to make it fun, to be honest with you. It kind of becomes more of a challenge to have that. I think we did 810 oval starts last year. So the goal, I believe, this year is 1,000. So bye-bye life, girlfriend, not anymore. iRacing. So yeah, we're just having fun with it and just having as much fun as we can every single night. As Robert Duvendek absolutely has a great lead over P2 Jaron Valley, who charged earlier, James, just real quickly, and then just kind of fell back. So I know we're coming up on one last round of green flag pit stops, but the crazy part is P3, if I may, is all the way in the backstretch, not even entering turn 3 yet, and these leaders just passed the start-finish line.
While they continue to work their way around Daytona, we'll pull up the replay simultaneously of what happened to Brett McNamara as they almost wrecked in the middle of this pack. But with the 39 machine of Justin T. Miller, who got sideways and loose and bounced down to the apron, and then looks like the 9 of Martin Vieira's shoved McNamara into the fence and spun him out. So the 5 goes around and is now out of a transfer spot and in big trouble, because if we don't get a yellow flag, there's almost no way for McNamara to catch up, especially with the amount of damage that he has. That's a little bit of problem, Keenan, I would say. Rents would kill Keenan.
You know,
What do we do?
My mic was muted. I went to the bathroom.
I didn't do it. The 24, by the way, Keenan, starting to bobble just a little bit. He bounced off the apron about twice. He is in the transfer position at the moment. So he about got turned off turn 2 about a lap ago. So just keep an eye on that transfer spot, because he has bobbled a few times already.
Man, it do be wreck o'clock right now. And just quickly touching on what just happened, the 39 of Justin Miller looked like he was checking his phone or doing some texting, because he was at the wall, then all of a sudden tugged it below the yellow line. That's why there was that huge checkup. And unfortunately, the 5 of Brett McNamara are going to be the one to pay the price for that. So if you got to throw hands after Brett, you know who to go after. So Like you said, Rance, the 24, Joe Ogle, one of my favorite names currently in the race. It's very fun to say, Joe Ogle. You should try it at home.
It's like Andy Lally.
There's a lot of names in this race that roll right off the tongue.
Keenan Kuzin.
I'm not racing, Rance.
But you know what? You're racing in my heart.
Oh, am I making your heart race?
Yes.
Oh, big move from Joe Ogle, almost throwing the 11 car of Tom Morano in the wall. That is for position. That is for that final transfer spot. It do be wreck a clock, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the last 30% of the race. We have completed 72 out of 100 laps. And that really is the only major race on track right now. The race for the win is basically a moot point. All those guys almost a lap to the good. They don't need to race anymore. They could just coast. They could just ride. And I think Jaron Valley's finally gotten the message and just hanging out. This is you're going to be your exciting race not for the win, unless there's a caution and they all bunch back up. But the 24 and the 11 racing for a transfer spot. Who's going to make it to tomorrow?
That's a good question. They're starting to go 3 wide a little bit.
Oh, he's in the wall!
Oh, Tom Morano gets fenced over in turn 3. So I think while we have an opportunity, because it's going to be tight here, and we're going to see it in the next few laps, here at Podium Esports, we just, every once in a while, like to hear the sounds of things. So we'll leave it to these cars. Let's take a moment to listen to the sounds of the Podium 500 preliminary race. Hopefully you all brought the volume back down. We're back here for the last 25 laps of this race, or 25%. I guess in Canada they use percentages to keep track of races instead of laps to go. A little bit different up there, but
listen, I can't screw up the mileage if I don't use miles. If I dance around it, I'll never make that mistake.
Is it like tap dancing, or is it like, what are we doing here?
Freestyle hip hop.
You know what? I'll accept that.
Yeah.
This is a statement that I cannot dispute nor disagree with, and I will wholeheartedly give you credit for being excellent in that endeavor as we wait for pit stops, which honestly should be coming, what, 2-3 laps to events, if that?
Should be right around then. I mean, I believe like the leaders will probably try to peel off with these lapped vehicles just because it's going to be a little easier if they can make it. I know some of these guys pitted a little bit in different intervals, but here's something that I want to just touch on real quick. Right now, Tom Morano is running 6th right now. It looks like, I think we're just going through some changes on track, but he was in the transfer spot a few laps ago. He's in the number 11 car. It says 42 on it, but he was in the transfer spot a few laps ago. He hit the wall pretty hard, and remember, early in the race, he got flipped so high up in the air, he touched Threesis on the way up. So he does not have a fast repair left. So the thing that's going to be interesting is, can he hold on to the draft and hold on to a transfer spot to survive for tomorrow? As here comes a giant pack. As I said, the leaders are pitting with the lapped vehicles. The final pit stop on lap 77. Can everyone get woed on down? There goes Tom in the wall again. He's in the wall for a second time, entering pit road. The biggest of oofs has happened. Can Tom stay in a position now, James, to get into a transfer spot for tomorrow?
That's the big question with all that damage. And remember, he's down a faster pair too. We'll take a look at the replay and see what happened to that number 42 coming down on pit road. He just tried to gain as much as he could, which, you know, if you're smart, you can do it. But if you push yourself just that little bit over the edge, you can lock it up and turn yourself into the fence. And now Morano's got left front damage to match the right front damage. Meanwhile, it's Duvendak, Valley, and Brockle that represent your top three as it stands. But Duvendak and Valley in particular are the ones who have controlled this race. They managed to make this work, the best pit stops, and those two at this point really just have to ride around. There'll be 2 of the 8 that move on to tomorrow. The question is going to be where the other 6 fall, especially once pit stops are all done and dusted. That's the biggest question that I think we have to wonder. Also of note here, and a big move for a Justin Miller, a Rodney Cobb, a Kyle Payne, a Jordan Brockle. Some of these drivers are in a second pack, Keenan, and they came down a little bit ago, but you know, 31 laps here. Some of these drivers looking at this group, earliest pit stop was on lap 69. You can go 31 laps
Nice.
to the end here pretty easily. Yes, nice indeed.
Nice.
I was hoping you just keep talking and I wouldn't have interrupted. Just would have heard the nice in the background. But I forgot that we share a singular brain cell here at twitch.tv/Podium Esports. So yeah, I mean, I think they should be able to make it now with about 20 laps to go. And with the way the race has been, it was very, very spooky there in the middle. And we did have one spin that didn't bring out the caution, unfortunately. But got to think about now that maybe we might be running green flag all the way to the end. Like a lot of the racing that needs to happen right now is not for the lead, and like they're not bunched up, and like there's not a whole lot of reason for these guys that are running 3rd, 4th, 5th to be tussling for position, or 16th, 17th, 18th. They're basically just going through the motions now and hoping that someone wrecks. But if everybody's hoping that someone wrecks, that means everybody's driving safe and no one's going to do nothing. So I think for a lot of these guys in the rear positions, really got to be praying for a wreck right now. That's basically their only hope. But unfortunately, it's really going to come down to that. But we might be seeing them go green the rest of the way.
Maybe, just maybe. They've also got to make sure they work their way through the trial. The leaders passing the 68 machine of Tyler Grinnell, who's buried a lap down in the mess and is going to have to work. I think if we look at the transfer spot, Chris Jones has it, Mark Schrader wants it. The problem is that there's about 6 seconds between them, but biggest piece of this, friends, Schrader's got help. There's a 4-car train, of which one of those cars is Jaron Valley. He's got help to go catch Chris Jones. Jones is, for the most part, running by himself. He's got maybe 3 or 4 cars up with him, but he's at that tail end of that pack, so he should be okay, but he's got to make sure he doesn't lose this group, because if Schrader can run him down, that's a battle for the transfer spot.
It 100% is, and it's one of those, it's 4 on 4 if you want to think about it from that perspective. There's 4 cars up in the lead pack, where Robert is the lead driver, and with the 8th place driver of Chris T. Jones. And there's 4 cars in the second pack with Jaron, with Mark, with Joe as well. Remember, and Joe's going to try to make a crossover and move behind Jaron. Don't really know what doing there. Better to ride behind than try to race this late into it. But I just wanted to put a pro tip in there. If you're coming down to pit road, now Jaron's really going to hurt them. Jaron's really going to hurt him trying to race side by side. I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay in line in this position trying to get back up towards the front of the pack, is now he's going to get passed completely. Here comes the 24 of Joe Ogle. I don't understand this racing, but the pro tip I was going to say is when you're coming down to pit road, ride the brake and the throttle a little bit, because the rear brakes are going to want to lock up. And in the case of what we saw with Tom, he locked up the rear brakes so much, it just sent him into the wall. So for anyone who does Daytona or Talladega, use the brake, but use the throttle at the same time. Modulate both of them, and you should have a better time making sure that the tires and the brakes don't lock up coming to pit road, as Jared's going to fall. And Jared's going to fall all the way back to last in this pack, not even working with them. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. You're trying to catch the lead pack, but then you're not. I'm not really sure.
He's doing a really, really good John Clellan cosplay right now. He's going for first.
Yeah. No. Also, for the chat, everybody grab your glasses, because I just wanted to remind everybody that this is a 100 lap race. So You guys can do what you need to on that.
All right, gonna have a drink
Oh,
of
they-
Gatorade now. Thank you.
Are they playing a drinking game in chat? Are they?
No, they are.
Perhaps.
Good to know. All right, you guys
Good
are
old
gonna die.
Gatorade.
Perhaps.
No, I'm already dead. What?
All right, cool. So this 100-lap race, which consists of 100 laps,
Wait,
is
is it
being
100
led
laps?
right now.
It might be 100 laps. It could. You know what? I see 100 on there, but I don't really know if it is 100 laps.
You know, I have a really hard time reading sometimes, Brents, but I can see. Oh, the 41.
I never knew how to read.
The 41 of Braden Wynn, seeing the 111 of our favorite person in the world, Jaron Valley, just almost shoving him in the wall. Jaron is still trying to pass lap cars right now. I was with you, Rents. I was watching that happening. All he needs to do is chill, and he's got the.
Oh, we got one on the wall on the
world.
front stretch. One on the wall on the front stretch. It's the transfer spot. Justin T. Miller. He's in the wall. He's up against a safer barrier. Down. He's gonna save it, but he completely lost the pack. His second pack is gonna catch him, James.
And this just made the transfer spot battle incredibly interesting because Miller, now down on Powler, is completely out of the draft. That makes Chris Jones pretty safe at this point, and now it's a question of when Mark Schrader catches Justin Miller and potentially races for that transfer spot. But also, let's not forget that Joe Ogle is in that pack as well. So it's two drivers that I think effectively are going for one spot. If Miller can hang on the back of this group, Keenan, it's three drivers for two spots.
Oh, man, I'm going back to watch that. Yeah, I don't even know what happened there. It looked like maybe technical issues, if anything, because the 39 of Justin Miller just stopped turning and then turned real hard to the left to try to catch it, bounced off the wall. I mean, good job of keeping that from getting any worse, but he just went from having the easiest P8 in the world to that second field just coming. They're coming like a freight train now, and they have all the momentum in the world.
You see the replay here. Yeah, I think he just got arrow tight, just got to push behind somebody, right? It looks like he just couldn't get that nose planted out of four the way he needed to, and all of a sudden, into the fence he went.
Definitely problems, Wendy. Problems there for the transfer spot there. That was weird because it looked like the nose just took off on him, but you wouldn't think that the nose would take off on him at Daytona. Here comes the second pack because this track is pretty smooth. It's not like old Daytona where handling really was the name of the game. As here comes Mark Schrader now. He is starting to get that run. They're going 192 miles an hour. Poor Justin T. Miller is going 184, and who knows what sort of damage, aero damage he has. This is going to create a whole slew of new interests for this transfer spot as the laps continue to wind down. We are 13 laps away from the finish here, and anything is still up for grabs. Anything is possible.
This is Schrader v. Miller. That's what we're watching now, and you see the 39 machine coming up. We'll flip to that group momentarily and see how it shakes out in 3 and 4. But
There they go.
Right now, there's the pass, and they tried to pitch the 39 hard. It was close, it was tight, but it is now Mark Schrader who's got the transfer spot.
Yeah, looking like Miller does have some right front damage. I'm trying to get a better look at it, but you know, that could be negated now that he's in the draft. You see him trying to make an outside move on that 24 car of Joe Ogle. He's got to be moving now, but I think Joe might be his best friend. He's not going to be able to get to the front of this pack by himself. Going to need some help. He's going to need some, you know, make some friends here. I think Joe is going to be his only ticket to the front as he almost gets into the right rear of the 24 car, Joe Ogle. But Joe keeps poking his nose out, showing intent like he wants to make a move, but they're going to need to sync up. They're going to need to both have to make that choice. But looks like right now one of them pulls out, the other one changes their mind, the other one pulls out, the other one changes their mind, happening right in front of P2.
Oh,
here they go. 24 on the outside of the 41 of Braden Wynn. Braden Wynn a lap down, no dog in this fight. Trying to make something happen on the outside. Big wiggle for Braden Wynn on the apron.
Yeah, no, this is where it gets interesting because you're right, Keenan. If Ogle and Miller start to pair up, they have the ability to take down Mark Schrader, and one of them could get that last transfer spot. But all eyes on this. You've got that lead pack on the right hand of your screen. That's where Robert Dubendak is. You've got the transfer battle to see who finishes 8th on the left side of your screen. And we'll keep an eye on the race winner and who takes that last spot into time trials tomorrow night.
The thing that I'm starting to notice here with Justin is he's pulling out of line out of turn 4. He's not staying with Joe enough to really stay with. I don't understand the drafting of what's happening in front of me. I'm just gonna accept it. But the 24 keeps getting these little peak runs, and then the 39 just completely steps out as Joe's gonna try once again the lead on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, there they go.
3 of them, Darren's in it. The second place driver, I was about to say, you should just back out of it and just run behind. Unbelievable championship implication. I wanted to say that all right.
I know. I know you did.
Brandon Wind, Joe Ogle, who was in the transfer or fighting for the transfer spot as we get the replay with 9 laps to go in the transfer race. James Pike, calamity has ensued once again.
Humans are not dead, but their chances to make the 500 might be, as Ogle just tried to side draft the 41. He was almost there, and then Valley just had nowhere to go in all of this. Just tried to check up behind Miller in the 39 machine and ended up in trouble, just coming down on the brakes. So
Ogle's really slow on the front stretch. He about wiped someone out just trying to slow down. I don't know what the problem is, but he definitely slowed down more than he was supposed to. Bigger issues happening now for the 24, Keenan. That's just a byproduct of, as we watch the replay once again, he just gets on the right rear, and it just turns him, Keenan, right around, almost like he just came down a little too much.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Ogle that came up, the 41 that came down. The 41 didn't need to move there at all, but ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thunderdome. They're all going to be bunched up now. They're all going to be on each other's bumper, and I got to imagine the big winner here was the first car that was not in that draft, the 68 of Tyler Grinnell. Tyler was basically with no hope, was out of the draft and really needed this to happen. And all of his main competition just hit each other. So not only is he going to be back in this race, everybody behind him who is who's on the same lap as our transfer spot, which is 1 lap down. So we've got 6th through 15th right now that can absolutely make a run for that 8th position. We don't know if these guys who wrecked still have fast repairs. Maybe they used them by accident, which is a thing that happens. But this race just got blown wide open with 8 laps to go in this 100-lap race, which is 100 laps. You're going to be seeing, I think now, this is not going to be the last caution. We're going to probably see a couple of more.
We'll take a moment to step aside. We'll give the folks watching a chance to go to the bathroom. You got some time. The caution laps are long at Daytona, but make sure you come right back here within the next few moments, because we will have a handful of laps and green-white checkers. I think we won't call them a certainty, but I think there's a pretty strong possibility we see them in the closing stages of the 2021 Podium 500 preliminary race, which will be right back in just a moment. Under the yellow flag, we had nearly 85 laps of green flag racing in the middle of the 2020 Podium 500 preliminary race, and then it got all wild between Joe Ogle and Brandon Wind. They come together on the middle of the back straightaway, and now we have a wild finish on our hands. Because, Prince Brown, there are a few pieces I think that are worth noting. The first is that Jaron Valley is in second, but he does not have any more fast repairs. So the damage he has on the front end of his car is damage he will have to carry with him for the rest of this race. Now, the good news for him is that not everybody in the lead lap is in trouble. In fact, everybody in the lead lap right now is set to go. They all occupy the transfer positions, and the first car 1 lap down is Chris Jones. So even if Valley loses the lead draft, if he can stay on the lead lap for the handful of laps we'll have left, he can still transfer in with the damage. That's part one. Part two, it's Chris Jones, Tyler Grinnell, Mark Schrader, Brett McNamara, Justin Miller, Jake Balmain, Anthony Poston, Tom Morano, Joe Ogle. Everybody in that bunch, one lap down, fighting for 2 positions at the end of this.
Fighting for 2 spots. What did I tell you at the beginning of the broadcast, everyone? It doesn't matter what happens in the beginning. It matters what happens at the end. And currently the pace truck lights are out. James, we're about to go racing for 6 laps around the World Center of Racing. The pace truck is off. James, let's do this thing.
6 laps to go at the stripe. Duvendak and Valley with the damage should eventually check up to the outside, but not before they come through the gears. Up past 145, 150 miles an hour. Kinakusin as they come to turn 1.
Looking pretty clean right now, but again, the race for the lead is not where we're paying attention. All those guys are safe. They got nothing to race for. That 7th to 8th position is where we want to look. And right now, in the 8th position is Tyler Grinnell, making the best out of that situation in the 68 car going down the back straightaway. He's holding on to your transfer spot.
Tyler Grinnell is passing Jaron as we speak right now. The 9th position belongs to Mark Schrader. As they go into turn number 3, he's trying to close. He's about 1.5 car lengths back, as you see on your screen. He's closing in fast and furious as we come off of turn 4, James. The 41's in the wall, and they're bouncing off. We might get a caution. Saved it.
Morano back in the fence again. It's Chris Jones and Tyler Grinnell who had the final 2 spots as Duvendak leads the field past the start-finish line. 5 laps to go now, but it's all about 7th, 8th, and 9th, Keenan.
Yeah, as we got the hungriest man in the field, the 111, trying to make a move on the outside right now. Jaron Valley really trying to get past Tyler. Tyler getting boxed in with that guy. He needs to race to the 17 car of Schrader. Pulling away right now. Tyler's watching it slip away from him as the laps go. Getting freight trained, but he's got to make a move here and get on the outside.
The top of the racetrack is starting to be the place where you want to go. They're getting side by side all the way through the pack. Transfer spot or not.
Oh, big catch.
Showing crazy.
Nearly lost it there as Chris Jones rides in the 9th spot now. Posted, who was a lap down earlier in this race, has the transfer spot. 4 laps to go at Daytona, and they are properly 2 by 2 now, heading off into 1.
We're going to see guys that have tried to play patient, tried to focus, and just keep their cars clean. They got to make moves now. They got to do something. This race for 8th is unbelievable as we see the 16 trying to extend it 3 wide, thinking better of it. The race up front getting a little bit dicey now as those top 2 cars, the 17, holding on to that transfer spot right now in the lead of the field. And the 99 of Robert Duvendak just to say, all right, buddy, I'll push you. I got nothing to risk, but a lot of these guys are going to have to really work together. They're going to catch up to the 17 and catch up to the 8th position of Anthony Poston. A genius move staying behind the leader and being able to grab that 8th spot.
Everybody in tow here. They will come around 1 and 2, and they will fight a little bit further. It's Poston who still got it. We're looking for Chris Jones, who's about 2 cars back, working to the inside with help from, looks like, I believe, one of the lap down cars as they come down the middle of the back. It's Jordan Brockel who's still in the lead lap, Rents Brown, but that's where all the action is.
The number 33, 84, and 17, all fighting for the final transfer spot to continue their dreams in trying to make the Podium 500. The 17 hits the apron. He's getting loose. He's going to get looser. He's in the wall. They're all in the wall. They're spinning. Big wreck down the apron. Big wreck everywhere. No caution is out. We're still green at Daytona.
And it's Mark Schrader who gives up the transfer spot to Justin Miller, who was in that wreck just a few laps ago, Keenan.
Yeah, he ends up being the beneficiary of that, but a lot of good cars getting knocked out of that, and now the race is actually spread out by a huge way. 9th place of Mark Schrader way behind, and the 10th place of Tyler Grinnell way behind him as well. It's so spread out.
Don't look now. Here comes Brett McNamara in the 5. He's towing on the 17. There's damage on the 17, not gonna make a difference. The 68 of Tyler Grinnell with a huge run. Where did he come from? Shot out of a cannon. Here comes the 68 as we come around to the white flag lap, James.
1 lap to go, and it's Grinnell versus Miller for the final transfer spot. Duvendak in control of this. Brockel up there too, but all eyes on 8th and 9th. What can Tyler Grinnell do on the last lap, Keenan?
Tyler's going to have to make a huge move on Miller here, but we know Miller will throw a block to try to keep him behind. He's got the speed. It's not even close. Tyler making a move to the outside. Justin can try to pinch him a little bit, but there's nothing he can do. Tyler Grinnell moving to the 8th position.
If I'm the number 39, I try to get right back behind and try to get that draft of the 68. Down the backstretch for the final time. The lead for the race has already been decided, but it's about the transfer spot. Trying to make your way into the Sunday show. Down into turn 4. Here we go, James.
It is Robert Duvendak who will go to victory lane in this race. And can Justin Miller get any sort of run? Not enough. And it'll be the 68 machine of Tyler Grinnell who just makes it with that last lap run out of 1 and 2 to take away the final spot coming out of this race from Justin Miller on the last lap of this first ever preliminary race for the Podium 500. And for an SOF that averaged around 1,1300, Keenan Kusin, even the last lap action there was about as good as it gets.
Oh man, again, we weren't watching for the win, which is, not to take away anything from those drivers that kept it clean and kept it on the lead lap. Again, congratulations to Robert Duvendak punching his ticket into the time trials tomorrow. But Tyler Grinnell on the outside of Justin T. Miller. Justin might maybe just having some damage, not having the speed, not having the draft, but Tyler absolutely getting handed a gift because he was nowhere before that half wreck.
Nowhere. Also can confirm from race control that wreck happened over on the apron coming out of 4. And all the cars drifted down into that runoff area. They stayed out of the racing line, which, in fairness, would also mean that if the sim were controlling the yellow flags here tonight, the sim wouldn't have called a yellow flag in that either because the cars were out of the racing line. And that's the thing that iRacing looks at when you're looking for automatic yellow flags. So in either case, that would have been a non-yellow, and that's why we stayed green flag racing, but it also set up that incredible finish where Grinnell managed to snatch it away from Miller on the last lap. Prince.
You know what? That's just Daytona at its finest. Everyone going for as many positions as they can in a very tiny window. And at the end of the day, Tyler Grinnell was just the lucky one. He kept the foot flat down to the ground, and he was able just to kind of get the run he needed at the right time. Reminiscent of so many different races here over the years, where the outside line at the very end, when the man who doesn't have any help becomes helpless, as Tyler Grinnell transfers his way in to the Friday show, trying to qualify his way in for the Podium 500.
So the 8 that will transfer into time trials tomorrow night are Robert Duvendak, Jordan Brockle, Rodney Cobb, Rob Connors, Kyle Payne, Jaron Valley, who hung on after burning his fast repair. Even with all the damage, he still made it. Anthony Poston, who laid back at the beginning and charged right when he needed to make up the places he needed to get into a top 8 spot. And Tyler Grinnell, with the last lap pass in turn 2, takes away the final spot from Justin Miller and becomes the 8th and final man to advance from the preliminary race to time trials. Miller, McNamara, the first 2 going home. And I think especially after how Justin Miller really did have this in his hands in a lot of ways, Kim, it's a bitter way for his 500 to end so early.
Yeah, he's got those guys up front. They're getting a little bit too racy. Well, I mean, I guess you kind of have to in this scenario, but he had it all wrapped up until that wreck there on lap 97. That ended up taking out a lot of good cars, spreading the field out. And anything can happen here at Daytona, and that's why it is the crucible of speed and always produces some really, really exciting racing. And again, it may not have been for the win, but that battle coming down right to the end, right to the wire, going back and watching the replay here as well, there's nobody lifting, nobody getting out of it. The 17 just catching the apron, and unfortunately, bowling pin noises as he grabbed a bunch of other people with him. We saw Jaron Valley got a piece of it as well, but just a little bit of apron changed the complexity of this race with 3 laps to go.
Really, really wild stuff at the end of this. And I think, if anything, Rents, that's just the nature of a transfer spot. You see it in the duels for the Daytona 500 on Thursday night. People have done desperate things in the past to make sure that they make the cut. And we saw the same. Mark Schrader was just going for it, trying to give everything he could. Make this.
You know, just the largest thing that I have to say about this whole thing is you got to look at it from a standpoint of what are you willing to do in order to make the big show and give yourself a shot to win on Sunday. And I think watching this last wreck again in the last lap, it's just Daytona. Everyone just trying to cram their way into a tiny box, trying to make their way into the show. There was a lot riding on that. That wasn't just one transfer car right there. There were multiple James off of turn 4. So to see what we saw right there doesn't surprise me, because that's just how super speedway racing really is at the end of the day. You got to be alert, but at the same time, control is completely out of your hands. You are at the mercy of the man around you.
Entirely. We're going to take a moment to talk to some of the top finishers in tonight's race. We'll come to the man who finished in second, Jordan Brockle in the 84. And Jordan, just sort of run around for a lot of this. Was that part of the game plan coming into tonight? Was it just a, let me hang tight, lay back, and make sure that I'm where I need to be at the end, and it doesn't really matter what happens in the other 99 laps?
Yeah, we kind of bounced back and forth, me and Kyle, on if we should even qualify, and because we were unsure about the game plan to begin with. We were going to try to run in the back, and then we thought maybe we should just qualify and run up front, and it just kind of worked to our advantage. That a lot of this stayed green.
It stays green, and you had help from Kyle. I know you and Kyle are very close-knit, very good friends that run together in a lot of races here on the sim a lot. How much did having somebody like Kyle in this field help you get one of these transfer spots in the end?
It helped a ton, because I was kind of freaking out because my friend's already in the other part of our racing team, Rick Racing. He's already into the time trials and heat races because he has a higher iRating, and the fact that Kyle last minute was able to get into the show and be there to help us get into the time trials and the heat races. I mean, it helped tremendously.
And so now you can breathe a little bit as we take a look at the replay. How wild was it actually to see all that pan out with Mark Schrader and company happen right in front of you? What was your perspective? What did it look like looking out the windshield as Schrader drifted up high and everybody else wrecked behind you?
Oh my gosh, it was very nerve-wracking. I saw him wiggle through the middle of turn 3 and 4, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be pretty. I'm right here. I'm like staring at his rear bumper, and once I saw him go up the track, I kind of tried to work my way onto the apron just to try to get away from that as soon as I could, and hope that Kyle made it through. Unfortunately, he got clipped there. But yeah, I'm still a little shaky here because how much of the adrenaline just smacked me in the face in that moment.
But you come out on the other side, you've made it. You're going to be racing not only tomorrow night, you're going to go qualifying time trials, but you're racing on Saturday in one of the biggest days of the year in all of iRacing, Podium 500 qualifying day. You're in one of the heats. How does that sound to you?
I can't even begin to, just gather that as a thought. I didn't race this last year simply because I didn't feel very confident in myself to even be able to make it into the show, and to transfer as the number 2 driver. I mean, that's unreal. It's just, I never thought I'd even be in second place. I thought I'd be crawling trying to get that last spot.
You're not crawling trying to get that next spot, though. You are in, you are sent, and we will see you tomorrow night. But before we do, who do you need to thank for making tonight's run possible?
I got to thank Benny Pinella, who runs the Nashville Next podcast and radio show that he runs on 94.7 WDSD in Delaware. He stood behind me in everything I do with sim racing, and even transferring over to the kart season this year when I start racing karts in real life. And he's really been a big fan of mine.
Jordan Brockle, P2 tonight, one of the 8 transferring from the preliminary race. Congratulations, Jordan. We'll see you tomorrow night for qualifying.
Thanks so much, guys.
Jordan Brockle, P2, and I know he had a little bit of help from a certain K Payne, and Keenan Kusin nudged me here in our secondary chat that we have going on. I want this man. I want this interview. So we're going to let Keenan get his wish and talk to Kyle Payne, who came home 5th and also is going to be qualifying in time trials tomorrow night.
Kyle sneaking it in there, being able to grab the 5th position. You're making it, like I said, like James Pike said, making it into time trials. This is now the start of a long weekend for you. How are you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. Just happy to make it, It was a little nerve-wracking at the end. with that little wreck. I feel like I could have pushed Jordan to P1, and I could have been right there with him. But that wreck got caught up in that. I was just happy that no caution was thrown, and I could hobble along the line.
Yeah, getting a fortunate positioning there, but throughout the whole race with all that green flag running, were you expecting to go green flag that long?
Actually, no. We were hoping and praying, and it worked out for us. But no, to be honest, it's Daytona. You know, you never know what to expect. So going green that long, it kind of worked in our favor.
Yeah, and was the safety of being in the top 6 and having that clear lap, was that comforting at all? Were you guys still racing up there, or was it kind of mutually agreed on that, like, hey, we have a lap to the good of all these guys. Let's just hang out. Let's just chill. How was the end of that race for you, especially with only about 6 laps to go?
Well, yeah, we were deciding like we're gonna take our time before the wreck. We're just gonna wait, see if our window is there. If our window was there, we're gonna take it, but we didn't want to take any chances at the same time. So we're just trying to play it safe and wait for our window.
All right, man. Again, long weekend ahead of you, and I wish the best of luck to you. But as everyone gets a chance here, just to get you this far, anyone you want to thank, you want to say hi to, now's your time. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to thank No Name Nerd, man. They make Brian is the owner of the company, makes esports jerseys for everybody who plays esports. They make other types of gaming material too for anybody who streams. And then my boys at Rick Racing. If it wasn't for Jordan and Justin, I wouldn't be here today. They taught me a lot. So.
All right, man. Congratulations, and again, we'll see you at least tomorrow, and for the heats, and hopefully we'll see you Sunday.
All right, thank you.
Kyle Payne, P5 this evening, and off to time trials as well. Another driver who managed to make it through it, and one who I think probably typified the strategy of just laying back. Anthony Poston, who was a lap down at the very beginning of this race and came down pit road early to avoid all the madness, ends up P7. He's going to time trials tomorrow night too. He's with Prince Brown.
Anthony Poston, you survive the preliminary here to make it to the time trials. How do you feel after that? Because that was just one wild race.
Oh, that was definitely crazy. After the first caution on lap 5, I ended up blowing up and losing 2 laps, and it was just survival after that.
Yeah, you blew up earlier in the race. Looking back in your mirror, coming to that 3 laps to go, right when the big calamity happened off of turn 2, what went through your mind in that moment? Were you thinking that you wanted that caution? Did you not want that caution? What was going through your mind in when you started to see that start to form?
Oh, when that happened, we definitely needed it. That was the only chance we were going to have. I was so far behind the guys that were a lap down. I was technically only a lap down, but so far behind that I wouldn't have been able to grab a transfer spot without that caution.
Now, what was your strategy going in right after that wreck? Was your strategy just to kind of wait in the back, see how things were going to play out? What were you trying to figure out as this race went on, just knowing that you've already burned that fast repair?
It's going to be right in the back, but it seemed the field got stretched out so far that I was able just to hook back up with Duvendak and go back to the front and just run that front the whole time.
Well, you did a fantastic job today. Was there any other concerns or anything like that coming towards the end of the race? Just knowing that even though you were behind Robert there at the end, was there any concern that something still could go wrong, or were you kind of confident once that wreck happened that you were good to go?
After the wreck happened, you're pretty confident, but it's super speedway racing. Anything could happen.
And just like everyone else in here, let's give a shout out. Who makes it happen for you, Anthony Poston, as you now get to go race, not only qualify in tomorrow, but you get to go race in your heats on Saturday?
Well, I'm excited. I got to give a shout out to 3Y Motorsports and then Salty Zombies.
Well, there you go, guys. Anthony Poston with a 7th place run. He locks himself in to the next part of the Podium 500 roundtable.
Yeah, it's a bit of a round table. Up here, another one of our transfer drivers, a man who finished 6th, Jaron Valley in the 111. And Jaron, you had maybe the wildest road, I think, to a transfer spot, because you had to deal with so many different wrecks, so many different incidents to start this thing off. How did that wreck on lap 7 change the way you approached all this? He's so excited, he's speechless, Keenan.
Yeah, that'll happen. Although I don't blame him.
In the meantime, though, we'll see if we can work on Jaron. And in the meantime, Keenan, I know you like getting all your friends in here, so we'll just
Yes.
talk to another one of your friends. But most importantly, this friend is the man who made that fantastic move on Justin Miller to get the final transfer spot. How about Keenan and Sprinkle?
Tyler Grinnell, my boy. My boy. Those who don't know, a regular buddy of mine, and I was in silence pulling for you the whole race. At the last possible second, my man snuck himself in to the Podium 500, at least the heat stage. How you feeling, brother?
You know, I was preparing there, kind of like mentally preparing myself for the disappointment of finishing like 9th, 10th. We had a few things go wrong earlier in the race. A few mistakes. They were all self-inflicted on my part. Everybody around me raced very cleanly, and I'm very honored to be on this stage, and very honored to be so fortunate at the end. I can't tell if anybody in front of me had damage or whatnot, but once we made it through, I saw things getting a little antsy up there in front of me, so I went up to the wall just for a little bit more vision rather than speed, just in case things went south. Was very fortunate to make it through, and then we just we kept enough speed to stay in the draft with the cars ahead and get past them pretty easily. Justin was catching me there at the end, though. He closed in a 10th, and then I kept on the gas because I wasn't sure if we had one more lap. If we did, I suspect things might have ended up differently. But at the end of the day, just really happy to be in, really honored. Very happy we hung on till the end there.
Yeah, I want to know how you were feeling when you heard either your spotter or your in-game spotter car slow, and then you're seeing on your relative that those numbers are getting closer and closer. And what you said is, getting yourself ready for disappointment. I want to know what the feeling was like when you realized that you'd been gifted a P8.
Whew. A lot of hooting and hollering at first. I almost hit almost lost it and hit the apron just because I got a little bit excited. But the monotony of the race before that, I was in the spot I was in because I was thinking about my pit stall where it was in practice. I qualified pretty low on purpose because I did want to stick back. So my pit stall was a lot further up than I remembered. So green flag pit stops, overshot it, had to come back down twice. And I was like, oh, it's cool. I'll just position myself for a wave around. Next caution. That shouldn't be too long from now, right? It's Daytona. And then we went until lap 90. I'll be honest, I was praying a little bit at the end there, just needed something to shake it up. And then even in the position we were in, it was looking like a long shot. So right at the end there, for everything to pay off, it's kind of like a delayed response, but once it hits you, it hits you. And I'm just excited to try to parlay this into an appearance in on the big stage, see if we can show what we have.
I was gonna say, man, you the first step is over, but unfortunately the climb has just begun. How are you mentally resetting now, knowing that you have to go into the weekend, race, go the time trials, and possibly have to race your way in through the heats?
I've been thinking all race about what I would be doing if we did make it. There are a lot of things I want to work on. I am pretty rusty at superspeedway. My wheel feels a lot more free, a little bit more of a dead spot than I'm used to. So I'm going to have to practice holding a line, practice setting times alone on the track in the one lap qualifying format. So I mean, we made it in. That we got lucky to do so, but luck ain't going to get us all the way. We're going to have to work at it now, and I'm prepared to do that. It's going to be a fun weekend.
All right, man. Best of luck to you. Hopefully I see you in the heats. And who do you want to thank? What do you give you thanks for? Got this time to grab the floor and give some shout outs if you have them.
Shout out Team Rick, obviously.
It's us. Woo!
Would not be racing at all if I didn't see you guys having so much fun with it. So here I am. I'm here because of you guys. And, thank you, of course, to Podium. This has been a, fantastically run event. And I'm really excited for this weekend. I know this is going to be a blast.
All right, man. If I don't get to hear from you until the heats, and if I don't get to call your heats, best of luck. And it was awesome to be able to call your race. Good luck, man.
Thanks,
You
man.
got
I'm
this.
honored. Have a good one, guys.
Tyler Grinnell coming home with the P8, finished the final transfer spot. But more importantly, Keenan, you know what he said in the middle of that?
He did drop the TR. He dropped the hard TR.
No, it's not just a TR. It's a Team Rick.
Team Rick. Yeah.
Team Rick. Hey, I can do it too.
Brand built on stupidity, baby. Let's go.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So I also love the fact that we've got Jaron Valley in here now, and tech issues fixed to talk about P6 gets you into the show. And again, back to the same question. You came into the night with a fast repair, then lost it on lap 7. It was toast so early. How did that change the way you ran the night?
Oh, I just wanted to be so conservative for the rest of the night, but ended up not doing that. I was running up front. Me and 99, we were just going at it or whatever, and I was just trying to stay in the pack. And sometimes, you'd see me bunch out and just try to be by myself, and I could kind of sense that, drivers were squirmish and ready to go. So fortunately, I got caught up in 2 wrecks with, those 5 to go, and still managed to bring it home. But just kind of disappointed. I wish I could have kept it going green, flag racing there, but it is what it is. It's racing. I made it. That's all I wanted.
You make it, you're set, you're in, you are going to time trials and to qualifying day for the Podium 500. To be able to be in the big show, what's it mean to you?
Honestly, I didn't expect much. I mean, I only do, the short track oval races with the super late models and the late models, and just kind of work on that. But it means a lot to just be racing with guys that are, really good, and, some big names and whatnot. It's just, maybe I can put it to the test and hopefully make that 43 car field.
A lot of work to do on Saturday, no doubt, for you and a lot of other drivers as well. But before you move on to Saturday, who do you need to thank for getting into the show tonight?
A lot of people to thank. My girlfriend, first of all. I mean, she all of a sudden it was practice time, and it was like, oh man, sorry, I can't FaceTime you right now. Just let me send you the link. But my mom and dad for watching as well. They're big into it. They cheer me on and whatnot. That's awesome. So my roommates. I'm just a college kid, so I'm just thankful they're quiet, and and I asked them to shut the internet or shut down the movies and whatnot when I'm starting to lag. They do that, and my last one is my sponsor. It's All Pro Custom Graphics. It's one of my good friends, and I used to work there, so I want to thank them for letting me put their name on the car.
Man got all sorts of partners that make it happen. Man's got a suite of roommates that stay off the internet for him. That's when it's a team effort. Part of the reason why Jaron Valley is going to the big show. Congratulations, Jaron. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for saying my name right, too.
Everyone.
All right,
Well,
thanks, guys.
J-Ron.
Yeah, J-Ron.
All right. I didn't realize we were going to go full Key and Peele, but we'll let Jaron go celebrate here, and we'll bring in our race winner at long last. As Keenan Kusin is making a strong argument for Podium Karaoke night with the full-on Cult of Personality adaptation in chat. Let's get 3 claps for Keenan for being able to pull that off. But let's talk to Robert Grubendak, who did actually win this race. I feel like we've almost forgotten about that, but he was the best of the best in the transfer race. So you come through with maybe a little bit more of a target on your back, Robert, but your game plan going into this and how it manifested over the course of this 100-lap race that was 100 laps. How did that play out for you?
Well, it didn't start off the way I wanted it to. I'll tell you that for sure. The game plan tonight was to come in here, obviously just finish in the top 8. I had a couple teammates out here with me tonight, the 00 and Rob Connors. And then we had Rodney Cobb in the 44. We were all working together. And then we're just before the race, Poston got a hold of me and was like, hey, we want to work together. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So you see me and Todd did a pretty good job working together there that whole race. I kind of felt like I owed him everything I could after causing that wreck there on lap 7. So I was trying to do everything I possibly could to keep him in front of me to try to get one of his 2 laps back. And we just kind of stuck together the entire race after that.
Yeah, I was about to say that lap 7 got really interesting. There were a lot of people around you that were involved in that, where you sort of snuck off to the inside and made it work. So were there any sort of nerves over that call it 80 lap stretch, especially right after that restart where you felt like somebody might be gunning for you and maybe trying to get you back for what happened on lap 7?
Well, absolutely. That's always kind of in the back of your mind. I pulled off pit road for the pace lap, and everything felt fine with my wheel. And then we got up to full speed. And the moment we got up to full speed, my force feedback was no longer there. So I came over the radio, I want to say lap 2 or 3, and just kind of gave everyone a heads up that I was running second in the bottom line. I didn't have any force feedback. It kind of just gave me a little bit more room. And I guess there in the tri-oval, with no force feedback, you're not really used to not having that when you're used to having it all the time. So just trying to get the hang of what the wheel felt like without the force feedback, and it took me about 20 laps to get the hang of it. But unfortunately, lap 7, I didn't have the hang of it yet, the feel for the wheel, and I guess I just drifted up a little bit and got into, I think it was Duran in 111, and ended up taking out a lot of guys. So I felt really bad for that. I ruined a lot of guys' nights tonight, and I like to feel like I'm a pretty good super speedway driver, so I hope that little incident on lap 7 doesn't put too big of a tarnish on how people view me as a driver, because I do pride myself on being as clean as possible. So if there's anyone in the chat that's still watching and that was in that wreck, I do apologize. I just screwed up not having full control of my wheel there.
How tough was it to adapt to the lack of force feedback after you lost it right at the beginning of this race?
I tell you what, it's really different. Like I said, when you're used to having that every race, you come out every week and you're doing these races and you have it, and then to not have it. I was in the middle of the race. I was telling my teammates, I said, I feel like this is harder without the force feedback than it is when you have it and you're actually fighting the track. Or like I use Daytona 07 or 08 as the example of how bumpy it is. Like by the time that race is over, your arms are pretty tired. But I feel like my arms are more tired now trying to hold the wheel harder and hold it straighter to keep the car from drifting than that was if I would have had the force feedback. So it took a little while to get the hang of it and get used to it. But once I got the hang and the feel of the wheel and how it was, and I was pretty set from there.
Plenty of people to thank, I think, as you enter Friday night's time trials as the top man for this preliminary race. So send your thank yous and shout outs and let the people know who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta thank you guys for doing this. I happened to see some guys in my Super Speedway League posted about this race that was coming up, and immediately I signed up for it. It drew my interest right away. So I gotta thank you guys all at Podium Esport for putting these on for everyone, and especially now being one of the biggest races in the iRacing history. So it's pretty cool to be a part of it and say I'm a winner. I gotta thank my wife. She takes care of all 4 of our kids every week, and every night I do this to allow me to, get my load escape and get on here and race. So first and foremost, she's number 1 in my life, and I gotta thank her. But I gotta thank all the guys over at OP Super Speedway. Those are the guys that I race with every week, and who have gotten me to be as good of a driver as I am now. So.
Congratulations on the victory, Robert. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night and Saturday, because we're going to see you in both time trials and the qualifying races. You've got at least 20 more laps to work with in this year's Podium 500. Congratulations one more time.
Thanks a lot, guys, and hopefully we won't have the same problem with the wheel come tomorrow and Saturday.
Robert Duvenak, P1. Doobie gets it done, wins tonight's race in Keenan and Rents. I don't know what the expectations were, even in my head, coming into tonight, because this hasn't been a part of the Podium 500 before. We've not had this. This was the new addition for this year. But I'm inclined to believe after what we've seen tonight, Rents, rousing success is probably about the worst you could say after this race.
It was a success regardless. I mean, it was exactly what Daytona gives you. It gives you a great start. It gives you some lull in the middle, but that's okay because everyone's going to just start coming back and we're going to start racing really hard with about 10 to go. And that's exactly what happens. Daytona is like a play. Daytona is like a musical. It's in that sort of way. You get the nice little beginning. You kind of get that middle part of the race where it's just kind of, you get through the subplot and then you're back down to the action. So going on for the rest of this week, you're going to see a lot of guys do a lot of desperate things because this is the Podium 500. This is what everyone wants to win because you go for the next 12 months as the winner. of this race, that holds a lot of bragging rights going forward. And I think tonight was a great example of what you could see going forward into the next couple of days, James.
Yeah, no, I know I've had the chance to talk with Seth the Merchant and Daniel Eberhardt over the past year, in 2 years, in their reigns as 500 champions, and they both said it's one of the biggest accomplishments of their sim racing career, if not to be a Podium 500 champion. This is the largest edition of this event ever. It's almost twice as big as it was a season ago, Keenan, which means that I guess if basic math is basic math, by no means am I a math person, but we should expect nothing less than twice the excitement, twice the fun, twice the, well, everything over the weekend. No?
I think twice is an understatement, James. Again, we saw the preliminary race. This was the beginning. This was just dipping our toes in. And yeah, there was a lot of green flag runs, but at the same time, when it did get hot, it got hot on track. That was definitely a Florida night out there at Daytona Speedway. But the excitement is still to come. We still have all tomorrow through the time trials and basically all day Saturday with some of the heats. And from what I remember last year, those heats are basically just a glorified boxing match between a bunch of racing cars. So the fun is not just going to be on Sunday. It is going to be throughout the entirety of this circus we're calling the Podium 500. And I got to imagine those who are in the booth and are pushing the buttons behind the scenes of Podium's oval content, iRacing content a little bit more, you got to be so proud of what you've built here, James.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So now that we've completed this race, let's go through what you all can expect over the next few days, especially for those who have registered. We can confirm that registration is now closed for this event. We've got more people than we can handle just about. But for everybody that's involved, tomorrow night, this is what you're going to be able to expect. In the Podium Esports League on iRacing, come 7 p.m., you are going to see 10 servers open up, and you can pick any one of them that you like and put down your qualifying time. Drop in, set your lap, be done with it, wait and see what happens. It shouldn't take no more than 5-10 minutes tops, but you'll make sure you earn your place in one of the heat grids. And especially with the amount of people that want to get into this race, we still have people that are banging on the door hoping that they can get a spot. You'll definitely want to make sure that you go into one server and one server alone. First one you enter is the one you need to set your time in, but go into one server, set your qualifying time, and then pop out and wait and see what happens. Towards the end of the night, yours truly is going to go live personally on his own Twitch, James B. Fike, and we're going to walk you through the process that we use to sort through all 340 plus times to get to the grids for the 8 heats that are going to start off Saturday. Then we get to Saturday, and we've got the keys. Everybody just needs to race. It's 8 heat races, 20 laps apiece, 2 last chance qualifiers at 30 laps apiece, and then 2 60-lap duels where we're going to introduce most of the drivers that have the provisionals, of which there are 7 folks that are already locked into the Podium 500 for this year based off of their prior accomplishments. Seth the Merchant, Daniel Eberhardt as Podium 500 champions, Michael Frisch, who won our first in flight 400 back in June of last year, the race with the 1987 cars at North Wilkesboro, our 2020 champions of the Cars Esport Tour, Matt Gucker and Ryan Matthews, Garrett Maines, 2019 Podium Esports Oval Series truck class champion, and 1 driver to be determined. All are set to go. Most of them, save for Maines and Eberhardt, have elected to start at the back of the dual races, so they'll be in, and we'll see where Eberhardt and Maines come through, whether or not they qualify regularly or if they have to use the provisional. They've got the ability to do so. So we'll watch that on Saturday, but it all starts at 12 p.m. Eastern, all right here on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. And we are going to have coverage from every single race on Saturday. All 12 races you're going to be able to see right here live, so you can stay tuned all day, not miss a moment of the action. We've got so many different people coming in to help call the races as well. Keenan, I know you're going to be on some of the heats in the last chance qualifiers, so you're going to hear more from Mr. RHD. Rents, I know you're going to be watching from afar, a little bit tied up on Saturday, so you can't be racing in it, but we're going to see you in chat, and I know we'll probably give you a shout out at some point. But all day long, we're going to go until we figure out the final 43 drivers that are going to make up the feature on Sunday, which is going to feature 43 of the best in super speedway racing on iRacing in the largest independent event that Sim has ever seen. 200 laps, 500 miles, $1,000 that will go to the winner and the bragging rights as a champion of the Podium 500. The feature race broadcast will start at 12:30, and we have an all-star cast that is going to help bring you the coverage. David Schildhouse is going to be on the call. We talked about him. Jacob Seelman from Speed Sport will be on. I'll be back on to help call some of the race. Ford Martin from Monday Night Racing and the Motor Racing Network is going to be on the team. Mr. F4 Speed himself, Blake McCandless, is going to be out the turns calling stuff for us. And two of the best pit reporters in all of iRacing, Justin Prince and Taylor Burris, will be down on pit road helping to get you all the information. It really is one of the most star-studded announcing teams we've ever seen in any race on iRacing. And it's all going to come your way this Sunday afternoon. We'll make sure you're done with the big football game too. We know there's that in the evening, so we'll be well done before then. Don't worry about that. Just make sure you're ready for the racing and make sure you're ready to get yourself back into race car mode, because it's almost that time in real life as well. So many other events coming up in the next week too. We'll talk about more of that on Sunday, but we need to get to tomorrow night first. So the number that you need to remember, 7 p.m. Eastern, is when qualifying servers open. And we'll leave it at that for now after a great night of preliminary race action. Before we totally sign off, Rents the Fence, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me at twitch.tv/rentsthefence and on YouTube. Look up Rents the Fence. We do daily, or not daily, we do weekly iRacing Twitch fails. You'll see it there. It's back. It's back and better than ever, and we'll be going live in a little bit to start our evening with Rents the Fence, late night with Rents the Fence here on Twitch in just about an hour and a half.
LTN with RTF. I like it. Keenan, the same. Where can they find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Mr. Arrow HD. I am a full-time professional idiot. Do a lot of things with cars over there. We have a lot of fun. Would love to see some names that we saw in chat out there. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/AEROTEQ. And thank you for supporting. I saw a lot of the regulars from the stream out tonight. No, I'm not always up here, so it was cool to see you guys out there and supporting this little thing that Podium's letting me do. So, and thank you for having me as well.
A lot of fun to have both of you all in the booth, and come back anytime. We know we'll see you on Thursday. Keenan and Rents, you got a place here, whatever you want to, just let us know. But for now, we're going to say, wow, if that's how we open up the 500, we're in for a fantastic next few days. For our team at Podium Esports, John Theodore, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scaramouche, punching buttons this evening. For all the folks who helped make this preliminary race happen, Zach Johnson and William Hale helping us out as well. And for our broadcast team this evening, Ryan Bauer, Powerblind Top Flight Computers with cameras from our good friend Dougie Beard. And for the gentlemen who helped call this race with me in the booth, Keenan Kusin and Rents Brown, I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, thanking you so much for watching the first of what should be a great weekend of racing in the Podium 500. 8 names advance into Friday night's qualifying and time trials. We'll see what they can do. But for now, it's time to turn it over to one of the men who will be calling Sunday's race. We now send you to twitch.tv/Schildhouse. We'll go see what David's up to. Until then, good night.